Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 174. And tonight, it's been the first time in a long time. It is just Nate Hale and myself, Steve Crane, on the podcast. The garage is empty. The only studio audience member is Tony the dog, who is floating around here, which will probably cause some distraction. So bear with us.
For us or them.
Yeah, everyone. I want to thank our sponsors, Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. They're going to be providing tonight the Diesel Grind, which is the featured cigar. Diesel Grind by Diesel, which we had Justin Andrews on a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
We were smoking the Whiskey Row Sherry Cask PX. Fantastic cigar. So looking forward to this one as well, coming from AJ Fernandez. So Tinder Box at Easton, Columbus, Ohio. If you guys are in the area, definitely check them out and grab some of these. Also, a spoiler alert, in mid-July, there'll be more details coming out. We're going to be doing a diesel event as well.
Is that going to be
a long time? But yeah, so check it out. What was the question?
I was going to, because I realized the shop got a bunch of those diesel sherry casks. Is it going to be with those?
Yes, It's going to be with the sherry casks that we did on the show. I actually turned my mic down a little bit. It looks like I'm kind of clipping a little bit. But anyways, yeah, so check that out. But Tinderbox is Easton, great sponsor and great support from them. We've got this Diesel Grind cigar is available now in the shop, so check it out along with our other sponsor, BS Cigar Company. Currently waiting on the Golds to be available. They're in Miami, but they should be arriving in the Columbus area soon. And as well as obviously not last but not least is Altadis USA. Big support. Thanks, Josh Bentley and everyone at Altadis for that. We have the Reserva Real Nicaragua tonight from them. So check out their great line from Romeo Julieta, Monte Cristo, H. Upman as well. I know that Tinderbox at Easton also has several sampler packs from Romeo Julieta, as well as Monte Cristo, Upman, and all that stuff too. So check them out as well while they're available. And also patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast. This is something I made contact with that t-shirt vendor from that Elena and Abby from Bourbon and Blondes had referred us to in St. Louis, where they can print per shirt or whatever, per order. So that's what we're hoping to get out there. I knew that was going to happen.
That's all right.
I knew that was going to happen. Rookie mistake.
So hopefully Ian doesn't have to wait too much longer.
I just looked down and Ian's on the feed already saying V cut, but I think he wasn't talking about a t-shirt.
No, it's because Aaron
get a nice deep V.
No, Aaron Elizabeth.
I saw it. Yeah, the punch. Yeah. So yeah, patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast. We're trying to get some different t-shirt designs out there. So if you guys do sponsor it, and the ones that have done it, like Ian getting the 3Xs, what will happen, it'll be a lot easier if this can work out, is that we'll go ahead and I'll order the shirt and ship it to you, and that'll be a lot easier than doing the pre-orders and waiting on it. And we can also hopefully offer the different styles and colors.
Yeah,
which is the goal. So yeah, we'll see that. Hopefully it'll follow through. Other than that, what are we drinking tonight? We got the SN Pikes Magnolia whiskey. This is a high rye, so we're going to get into that here. I'm going to go ahead and share this.
Not just it's not a high rye whiskey, because that still makes it sound like it's a high rye bourbon.
Okay.
No, this is a bottled in bond rye.
95% it says, right?
So 95% rye, 5% barley.
Go ahead. Actually, let's start with that so I can share this if you want to share some of the details on this rye whiskey.
Yeah, so it gets its namesake from a gentleman named Samuel N. Pike, who ended up growing up and working in Cincinnati, and he established this whiskey. He got a patent for his whiskey in 1849.
1849.
So going back a little ways.
Yeah.
He referred to himself as a rectifier, which you'd have to look up your electrical terms in order to understand what that means. But what he would do is he would, since he was right there in Cincinnati, he would actually buy whiskey from Kentucky, bring it back to Cincinnati, and then blend it to his taste.
Blend it? You know how?
No, he would basically just sit there, take barrels and blend stuff together until he found a taste that he liked.
Yeah.
And then he was also a big fan of, because of his wife, he was a big fan of opera, built several opera houses. One at the time, The last one he built, 1868, cost $1 million back then.
Wow.
It'd be $25 million in today's money.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hands involved on this one. So it's distilled in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. So probably the fine folks over at MGP.
I would imagine, yeah.
It is bottled by Noble Cut Distillery, which is here in Gahanna, Ohio.
Really?
But the company itself, Magnolia Spirits LLC, is based in Powell, Ohio.
This is a local thing.
Yes.
For us.
Yeah. As of right now, it's only available in the state of Ohio.
Okay.
So obviously, bottled and bond means it's got to be at least 4 years old. Single distillate, so one mash bill. Single distiller, so it's only from MGP. And then single distillation season, which we found out a couple Sundays ago when we were touring Watershed, what a distillation season is. January to June or July to December. So it's got to be using stuff distilled in one of those two time frames. You can't. So think about this. You couldn't use anything distilled this month in June with anything distilled next month in July because as a bottled and bond product because they're two different seasons.
I got you.
And of course, aged at least 4 years in a government bonded warehouse and bottled at 100 proof. So this is just over. They say at least 4 years. So it's at least that 4 year mark. And I don't think this is not one of those brands that survived Prohibition. I don't know if it made it to Prohibition or died in Prohibition, but then it was recently started up again by a gentleman by the name of Ed Carey.
Ed Carey, okay.
So he's the one who got the rights to this name and started just, I guess blending it because MGP's making it for them.
Yeah.
They also do a bourbon. It's a wheated bourbon. So if you're fans of, say, Weller, it might be something up your alley. The mash bill on the bourbon is 51% corn.
Right.
So just barely enough to be considered
just
bourbon.
There. Yeah, absolutely.
45% wheat. And then the other 4% is barley.
Wow.
So no rye whatsoever, but a lot of wheat in that one. So that would be
sweet.
Probably I don't know. So yeah, did you notice when you were looking at it what batch number this is, Steve?
I did not. I didn't look at the label all that well.
This is batch number 1. Batch number 1. There were only 5,800 bottles.
So wait, batch number 1. When did this get kicked off again? You say?
Well, so it's at least a 4 year product, so they had to start it in at least 2017, if not sooner. If it's been around for more than 6 months, that means they would have had to start it in at least 2016. Yeah, so this is batch number 1. The rye, they did 5,800 bottles, and then the bourbon, they did 6,000 bottles.
Okay.
So obviously, and especially with it being only available in Ohio, obviously there haven't been a whole lot of people probably that have gotten their hands on a bottle yet.
No, that's really cool. Yeah, limited, it says right there on it.
Yes.
It's a pretty label for sure.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Yellowstone or the Nelson Greenbrier labels a little bit, kind of slant.
Yeah, it's got some gold leaf to it, if you will.
Yeah.
Goldish bronze. All right, so let's talk about it here. What do we got going on here? I took a couple sips.
What do you think of it so far? I've had one sip, and that was before you hit play.
It's definitely got the like a rye spice. It's first a little bit of heat, but it's more like a spicy burn, I think.
Like a cinnamon spice or like a pepper type spice?
Closer to cinnamon. I don't know exactly what the flavor is. I'm not getting a whole lot of pepper spice, but I'm definitely getting like it's good. But it's definitely, it lingers then, that kind of spiciness.
Yeah, it does. It does have a decently long finish.
Yeah, very long.
You had alluded to before we went live, the color on it.
So the color's a little lighter than I thought, and the viscosity seems a little light, at least in my glass, which sometimes a little difficult, but it seems to not really leave a whole lot of legs on the glass. How about on yours?
So like
he's got a Glencairn glass. I've got a kind of a rocks glass here.
So kind of thin, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so it looks watered down almost, if you will.
Oh, that was another thing I forgot. They proof it down with Kentucky spring water. So it kind of, the story kind of reminded me of OKI, which is now New Riff, but it stood for Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. That's kind of what this. So it's distilled in Indiana, cut with Kentucky spring water, bottled in Ohio.
Christ. I feel like there's so much cost just in the logistics of all this shit. That's incredible.
What do you think this runs?
So yeah, Nate picked up the bottle. So I'll preface this with the fact that I know typically you like to spend as little per bottle as you can. Now, sometimes you throw a curveball because you see something like new. All right, I'm going to say $39.99.
$54.99.
Shit. I say shit because that is
a lot for me.
Did you get in trouble?
No. So $55 in the state of Ohio, and I believe the.
I was high. So in all fairness, $39.99, and Todd Conley says, "Is Nate cheap?" LOL. Not cheap, frugal, and that's why $39.99 I think was kind of towards the top of your range. Usually,
yeah. I mean, so if I'm buying a bottle for me that I want to have around the house and be a sipper type of bottle, typically I'm going to spend less than $40 because I can get some absolutely fantastic bottles for less than $40.
And I'm not talking bad about it. This is just how Nate, as you should, you take pride in finding some winners that are inexpensive.
Yeah.
Relatively compared to everything else out there, which would be so $54.99 is actually a little higher than what I would expect, for an average newer product. But again, this is a bottle and bond. But again, we look at Cooper's Craft bottle and bond is still $29.99. You
mean that one's just a 100 proof.
It's 100 proof. Okay,
it's not bottle and bond. It's just 100 proof.
That's right. That's right.
But I was actually thinking, I was actually kind of comparing in my head to another bonded rye that I've had this year that came in at a $30 price point.
What's that?
That old Overholt that we haven't featured yet.
Yeah.
They have,
and they have the 114 available as well.
They have a 114, they have a 100 proof, and then they have a bottled and bond.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But they're all three ryes.
Yeah, I mean, other than they got the spice and that note on there for sure. But it's not I don't want to say it's harsher, but it doesn't have some of our favorite ryes or some of my favorite ryes, and we've talked about it, that have kind of that Christmas Day type thing. Yeah. This doesn't hit that. This is a little bit more like that grain versus a ginger snap or that sweet spice.
A little bit more floral notes on this, I think.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of sweetness up front, like a little sweetness and vanilla to it.
Yeah.
But no, it definitely picks up a lot of characteristics from the barrel.
Yes,
because they're using a number 4 char on the barrel. So it's getting a lot of that oak, and with that heavy of a char, you're not going to get some of those sweeter caramel notes to it. You're going to get more of that vanilla and char feel. But yeah, I'm
not getting a whole. Oh, go ahead.
Even on the palate, it does have a thin texture to it.
It does. It's very. I mean, it's enjoyable, but I mean, that's kind of like what you're saying with the oakiness and everything else. That's kind of what I'm getting. It's not. It's
like a lot of charcoal.
Tastes like what I'd expect, like a real manly cologne to taste like if it did, if they blended it to smell and also taste kind of like that really manly muskiness. And you're laughing because I feel like you see where I'm going with this.
I do. Yeah.
It's when my old man used to put on English leather and
alcohol. Very alcohol forward on this.
This is what English leather should taste like if they could do that and make it smell the way it did. A lot of you people don't even know what English leather is, but That's it. This is how it should taste. What do you think? I mean, besides the oakiness, I mean, do you like it?
I do like it.
It's hesitant though. You're hesitant.
Well, I'll get more into it in the ratings, but
okay.
No, it is enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's I think it's got a little bit more heat to it than I was kind of expecting.
Yeah.
Because I've had heavier stuff that had a lighter taste to it. Mm-hmm. Like when we went to Watershed, there was that one bottle that we had that was my wife's like, I know what English leather tastes like.
Yeah, someone else said Adrian said Stetson, man.
There we go.
Yeah, so you guys, I may be off the wall some of my review notes, but
anyone have a bottle of Stetson at home?
I used to.
I still do. I couldn't tell you the last time I put any on.
I feel like you're going to now, and then take a swig out of this,
and wear my Stetson hat.
Put on, whatever, Hopefully more than that. But or Jess is in for a good night. Good luck, Jess.
No, I mean,
hide the hat.
It is enjoyable. With this, today it wasn't super hot like we were expecting. Like 2 days ago, I remember taking my morning walk, and the temperature for my morning walk was warmer than what it is right now.
Yeah, we actually, for the last couple of days in Columbus, Ohio, I think a lot of the Midwest has been really lucky. It's about to heat back up here tomorrow, so I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, Monday I took my walk. It was 74 degrees.
Yeah,
in the morning. Today it was 48, and it felt great.
It did. Yes, it felt really, really nice. I know at the shop, Ian throws out there, it's that shit in the glass car bottle Mom's bought Dad's from Avon back in the day. See, I feel like either they're like just chiming in with thoughts like that, or they know exactly the flavors I'm explaining when I talk about how a cologne should taste is what we've got here. And it's not a bad thing. I know it sounds weird, but it's not a bad thing.
My wife's messaging me when I mentioned the Stetson hat. She's like, it's my Stetson hat. I'm like, do you forget?
Why isn't she on the feed? We need to get this public comments here.
Well, because she watches it on YouTube, and we really only see the Facebook comments.
That's fair.
No, Jess, you forget. I have my own Stetson hat that belonged to my stepfather.
All right, you guys sort it out at home. Do what you will with the hats.
Will do.
And the Stetson cologne. Ian says the sad thing is that we know. I know. That's what I'm saying. I feel like I'm communicating very through the sound waves and the video waves. I'm explaining this whiskey, this rye whiskey, in ways that it's probably never been reviewed before. And yet you're like, I got it, man.
Yeah.
And then if you took a sip of it, if you pick up a bottle, you're going to take a sip. He's like, fuck, that guy was right.
Tastes like men's cologne.
God damn. Stetson, man, right there. And if people at Magnolia are listening, you're welcome to use that with a small fee. Going on to the cigar, which I'm going to say right now before, I know we usually wait, but the ratings, I smoked this cigar on Tuesday because I do a Tasty Tuesday. If you guys watch the Tinder Box at Easton, I do a Tasty Tuesday on social media. But this tastes different smoking this cigar with this whiskey already.
Really?
Yeah. So we'll see how it continues to go.
A little preamble for later.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an Ecuadorian Habano. They call it Maduro wrapper on this. And then it's Nicaraguan filler and binder. They're describing this as full. So I'm interested to see what you have to say about the strength of this cigar, Nate. And it also, in the notes from Diesel Cigars, from Justin Andrews himself, it pairs perfectly with coffee and rye. So I didn't even know, but I mean, this actually so maybe
good pick today, Steve.
I guess you
good
too.
Pick. And you didn't even before we went live. You still didn't even know this was a rye.
I didn't know it was even alcohol.
Well, I'm pretty sure you knew that part. You knew I was bringing something that had alcohol in it.
So I like. I'm going to read this part of this for those that haven't checked it out. I do like some of the marketing behind this. It's not as over the top as some, but it is very, very. I may not even be able to pronounce some of these words. It's like, what is it, $100 words or 100? I don't know.
$5 words?
5, sure. Created by tobacco mastermind AJ Fernandez, Diesel Grind is a cult classic of a cigar if we've ever created one. That is presumptuous, but I get it.
Bold statement, Cotton.
Yeah, see if it pans out. Seductively smooth yet powerful on your palate, this full-bodied smoking experience delivers bountiful notes of And I won't say it because I want to hear what you have to say, so don't look at this. On the exterior, you'll be introduced to a mysteriously dark and luscious Ecuadorian Habano Maduro wrapper. Thoughtfully cloaked on the inside, AJ blended a meticulous mix of Nicaraguan binder and filler tobaccos from Esteli to create a cigar that's, simply put, proof of his never-ending grind to produce tobacco perfection.
Grown. Groaner, right there.
I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's not as like, you know, it's good. It's well written. It's fun. It's not as you know, some of like the stories that are like over the top, you know, and then you find out like the place they're talking about is completely made up for that story. You're like, all right, now I just feel dirty and lied to. Yeah. So what do you think?
So before I think I smoked one of these on Saturday.
Right here.
Before you told me what the wrapper was, I was going to guess Habano because it has this distinctive taste that I'm used to getting on a Habano wrapper.
Okay.
It's got, you know, kind of this dark leather and like a toasted almond type of flavor that I get from that wrapper.
Yeah.
Like just a slight sweetness, but a nuttiness to it as well. I have no idea what's
sweetness and nuttiness. Okay. No, I'm just checking.
Okay.
Now, do you think this smokes differently with this whiskey than what you remember?
I think it does.
Yeah.
I don't think I get quite as much sweetness from it right now as I did on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not getting as much sweetness. There is a nice what is the note in the retrohale? It's a very pleasant food, like coffee bean.
Okay.
Do the retrohale there.
Oh, describe why do you, what makes you think coffee bean?
I don't know. Like I'm trying to place it because I mean, I obviously haven't like just like sucked on coffee beans, but I've had like the chocolate covered espresso beans.
Okay.
I'm just getting a little bit of that food note. I don't know. Let me see what they say. They say like espresso is one of the notes. Notes of earth, like cedar.
Like a bitter dark chocolate.
Yeah. 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 There's definitely something there. Not as sweet, but almost like the smell of like creme brulee. Is that you get that on the retro?
I know what you mean. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
When you sit there and hit the torch to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that kind of,
there's something there.
That kind of toasting, burning sugar.
Yeah, it's like it's like toasted bread, right? Like I said before.
Toasted bread.
But it's very toasty. Smell of like toast. Yeah. They say bountiful notes of earth, cedar, espresso, and spice on each and every draw. But I think it's got a nice flavor on the palate, and then that retrohale is just with this whiskey. I don't remember this from Tuesday when I was having it. This is very nice. Avi says caramelized sugar. That's getting close.
I think like
that's getting close. It's not as sweet as that, but yeah.
I was thinking like if you were trying to make caramel at home and you left it on the burner just a little too long.
Just a little too long. It's not like you just burn the place down, but yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice flavor. And just there is a little sweetness on the tongue. If I'm not hitting the rye whiskey that we're drinking as well, but it's a nice toothy wrapper, that Ecuadorian Habano over Nicaraguan, and apparently it's mostly Esteli grown pure cacao.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's probably
right.
Like that bitter dark chocolate.
Yeah. Todd Boss says grind is a limited one. Great job. I don't know. I guess it is limited. I don't know. We have it in. It's good. Diesel has this, and we talked about it, I think, a little bit with Justin Andrews. Like the online side of it, you know, Diesel there's people that really love it, and there's people that have had it and they haven't cared for it, and they think of it as a I don't want to say cheap, but they think of it as like a cheaper online brand, because a lot of times AJ's got it featured in Thompson, CI, and a lot of those, you know, like the sampler packs, and it's usually one of the better ones. But I mean, this is now the effort through Justin Andrews, my understanding. So they're really pushing some of the more brick and mortar type of blends, and I think this is one that I got to be honest is I don't care whose band is on it. This is an enjoyable cigar.
It is a good.
And I like that the Ecuadorian Habano. Sorry, there's the dog right there.
What's this come in at the shop?
Sorry, I'm trying to get Tony back here. Motion in the driveway. Let's see. Sick 'em, boy.
Nuts.
Let's see what the MSRP, if they say. They don't say it on here. I want to say, because it is new, I want to say it's around that $10 mark.
Okay.
Give or take. $9.50. Oh, then why'd you say it?
Because I was giving you a chance. And
I screwed it up.
Yeah, $9.50 at the on the shelf at the Tinder Box,
which is one of our sponsors.
Now, does it come in more sizes than this torpedo?
So it does, but we only, Tinder Box only carries it in the torpedo. It also comes in the a Toro 6x50 size and a Robusto, which is very specifically 4.875 by 50. The torpedo is 6.125 by 52, and that's the one we're smoking right now.
So 6 1/8.
That's right. Just like some of your ratings.
I don't think I go that detailed in my ratings.
Todd Conley says Tony was giving his input. Hopefully he'll be a little quieter for the rest of the show, but who knows? But yeah, I like it. Yeah,
it's a good smoke. I think I smoked 2 of them within the last couple weeks, just because it's newer to the Tinder Box.
It's newer to the Tinder Box.
I think the shop had them when I first started working there.
Yeah,
and then just recently brought them back with the PX Sherry Cask diesel.
Maybe. I will say with this one, marketing wise, it has this blue band around it that is all it says is diesel. It has the diesel emblem, and then diesel again, kind of in bigger ghosted lettering, and that's it on the band. So on the shelf, if you put it in trays, you take it out of the box, and the box itself is more rustic looking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just sometimes, brands, and I need to look into what the more brick and mortar diesels are, but looking at it, it wouldn't jump off the shelf at me. I will say that. No. So not dogging it by any means. No offense, Tony, but I will say that he's just pathetic getting up in that chair. Isn't he? How old are you, man? But it's not the most aggressively marketed diesel that I've seen. We talked with Justin Andrews a few weeks ago about the Rabbit Hole collaboration and how detail oriented that he was with that.
Oh yeah.
I would love to have him, pop in, and I don't have him lined up, but I would love to hear his thoughts on why they marketed this one that way, other than it's just the grind and it's something along with that whole
I think a lot
marketing
of a lot of the diesel cigars have that very simplistic foot band.
Yeah.
Like other than the Whiskey Row ones, I don't remember seeing too many diesels with
let's look.
With bands further up on the body of the cigar. I remember seeing them on the
foot. Esli Puro had a little bit more. That's the first one.
Yeah.
The Delirium, which I've smoked. That one is it's a basic gray band on there as well. Let's see. I don't know.
I did like that Esli Puro.
Wicked. Let's see what the Wicked looks like.
I think the reason they had to use a band higher up on that one was because they had all that cedar on the cigar.
Right. But so this is one called, I'm looking at it here. Sorry, I don't have it up on the screen there. It's called Wicked. So it's got a more basic, same diesel band, but then on the foot band is quite elaborate, and it's like this kind of blood red
foil or something.
Yeah. And the box looks a little bit more elaborate as well. So I'm sure there's reasons behind it. That's why hopefully we can get Justin Andrews on again on the show. Yeah. Avi says, and I want to throw this up there because this is kind of what I'm saying, and that's why I enjoy doing a review on something like this. He says, I see diesel if you are a 10 cigar a day person trying to save money, just like you said, because the bundles on the magazines. I think that gives sometimes, an online. Gurkha's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Gurkha has their online products. They have the brick and mortar products, and not saying one is bad or good if you guys like it or don't like it. It's up to you to decide. But you're right, Avi. That's kind of what I'm saying is that sometimes when you see it in those bundles, they're good for the sampler that's, 800 cigars for $10. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. And it's like, whoa, I really liked 2 of them.
Yeah.
And it was a Diesel and a Gurkha. And it's AJ Fernandez too.
I think Diesel is kind of following a little bit of what Gurkha did several years ago. Gurkha used to be known, like, I think at one point they were like 70-30 online versus brick and mortar, and then they've kind of flipped that around.
They've flipped around. They've evened it out a little bit. I know that like Juan Lopez is kind of in charge of the online or the brick and mortar side of it. And
they created some brands specifically just for the brick and mortar stores.
Yeah.
So that way brick and mortar is not trying to compete with the online. I kind of feel like Diesel's been a little bit that same way. Like I remember when I first started getting into cigars, I remember seeing Diesel quite a bit online. Yeah. Never really saw much in retailers, but I've been seeing them pop up in brick and mortar shops a little bit more recently.
I got you.
But they've been different products than what I have seen online.
Yeah. Well, AJ Fernandez, I think, I know he's been around for a long time, but I mean, it's one of those things that I think he made probably a good chunk of money and good chunk of progress as far as how he's grown so much with the online deals with Diesel. I think Ave Maria is him.
Yep.
So we get asked in the retail brick and mortar side, you get asked for like some of the online brands, and it's like, well, we don't have that, but we have other AJ products, and he's continued to grow. He's got several factories, several farms, and so it's kind of neat to see that.
Yeah.
We had the AJ Fernandez with a Diaz de Gloria that he said was 4 of his oldest farms, and it's like, how many farms do you have? Your 4 oldest farms? Like, gee, what are your new ones? All right, so let's get to the last part of part 1 of the show here, guys. We appreciate it, and I see the views are going up live. I know some people have shared it. We appreciate that. It's a great time to remind you guys to if you guys are enjoying the show, share it on your Facebook feed. Subscribe to YouTube, share that, listen to it on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify. Several others, but make sure you guys do that. Give us some feedback, and also join the Facebook Bourbon and BS community page. If you guys are on Facebook, that's a way to interact with each other. We have a lot of loyal followers on that, about pushing 1,500 of them, which is great. We appreciate that. We're just a small podcast out of Columbus, Ohio, but we sure do have a good time, and I know a lot of the fans are not local either. We got Ian here, Ian Sean Anderson. I know he's out of, I think, Tennessee, if I recall correctly. We got Ray Cheshire out of Vietnam. We've got several people from different parts of Ohio, which we appreciate as well. So it's just fantastic to see that support. So with that being said, now it's time for the rating, the whiskey, cigar, and the pairing. And
Can I read the label on the bottle?
Hey, see, that's what happens when you let them bite your hand.
Can I read the label?
You want to? Go ahead.
All right.
You got to do it in my voice.
Hold on. Let me not cough that up.
Take a nice big inhale on the old cigar there. So there I was back in 1845.
Magnolia Spirits LLC celebrates Samuel N. Pike's heritage in Cincinnati and his success as a rectifier and liquor merchant of spirituous products from nearby Kentucky distilleries across the Ohio River, blending it to achieve great taste and color. His flagship brand, Magnolia Whiskey, was trademarked in 1849. This very successful Magnolia brand ultimately became a brand of Fleischmann Company distillers in Cincinnati. Fleischmann. Samuel Pike, a multi-millionaire from selling whiskey, that was in the 1850s. A
lot of booze.
Yeah. Was one of Cincinnati's wealthiest and most prominent citizens, and even built the first opera house in Cincinnati in 1859. Later, another one in New York City. Like Pike, Magnolia Spirits searches far and wide to source the highest quality and best tasting whiskey and bourbon. And then says this is the 95% rye, 5% barley.
Sounds just like me.
No, I wasn't trying to. let me play with the knobs and stuff on the board and see if I can get there. So on the whiskey, price point in consideration or no?
That's up to you. It's your rating. Right. You know how I rate stuff.
So on the flavor, on the whiskey by itself, I would be kind of that 7 ballpark. At $55 a bottle, I'd knock it down to a 6.
So you're 7?
7, just like if I didn't know how much this bottle would cost, I would be about a 7 on this.
So that means to me, and I'm not putting words necessarily. Damn, Nate, now I got to drink. What'd you say? Oh, price. Yeah. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
I mean, slightly. I'm not saying like you like get 7 down to a 2.
No, yeah, no. Like I brought up that old Overholt earlier. Like I would pay $55 for that old Overholt bottled in bond.
Yeah,
I'd pay $30 for this.
Currently, give it a treat to the dog. Over here.
But no, I obviously there's a lot of hands involved. It's a younger product.
Yeah,
this is the first batch, so I get why it's a $55 bottle.
Yeah.
Not something I'm going to run out and get regularly.
Right.
Just, I mean, because there's plenty of really good ryes out there that I would take over this. But this, it's one of those, like, it's an Ohio product, even though it's still by MGP. But no, I mean, it's a good Ohio product.
Todd Conley says it's tasty, but doesn't drink for that cost. Todd, if you're still on, have you had it and you agree, or is that something that you're trying to summarize what he's saying in your words? Because I'm interested in that. Yeah.
So just on the flavor and taste alone, I'm a 7 on the whiskey. As far as the cigar, I'm gonna be 7.5.
Someone's got a drink.
Jonathan.
He's not on tonight.
No.
Todd Conley says, yes, I agree with Nate.
So yeah, like it, but not for that price.
Yeah.
No, it's a unique cigar. It doesn't taste like a lot of the Habanos that I've had.
Okay.
But it does have some similar characteristics to it. It's an enjoyable smoke, but not something I'm going to regularly come back to. Even at that $9 to $10 price point.
Yeah.
There's a few others that I'd gravitate towards a little bit more. As far as the pairing, I give the pairing 6.
Wow.
Because I think
the Russian judge is back.
Wow. I think the cigar brings out a little bit more spice and heat in this bottle. And also this whiskey takes away, because you and I were both talking about it earlier, like the last time when we smoked this cigar, it tasted a little bit sweeter. And drinking the whiskey, I think that whiskey takes away some of the sweetness of this cigar. So I think and the cigar really doesn't add anything to the whiskey except bringing out more of that spice note on the palate. And if you're not someone who's really looking for a really spicy drink, then that's probably not going to be a pairing that's going to be for you.
What if you are?
Well, if you want spice, then go for it. I think
if I'm going to get a 95% rye, I mean, I'm expecting spice.
Yeah. Drinking the whiskey by itself, it has, we talked about that spicy finish, but then the cigar just kind of brings it back and makes it last a little bit longer. Like it brings that spice back in.
Yeah. All right. So there's some debate before I do mine. Ray Cheshire's out there. I disagree with bringing the price into it. Sean Anderson, I don't know. It either tastes good or it doesn't. Price, don't change that. I can be upset at what they think it's worth if I disagree. But once you decide to put the money on the counter, the cost no longer comes into play. All right. So rating the whiskey, I disagree with you guys. I mean, this is something that if we're going to give reviews on, if I'm going to give a review, I'll speak for myself. If I'm going to give a review on something, if we're doing a blind taste test, that's fine. That's one thing. But if we know how much it costs, we know it. This is a complete product review, in my opinion. So I am of the opinion that price does come into play with it. So it's like, all right, it's $55, not a problem. $3,000 bottle of whiskey, and it tastes like this. Are you going to bring in price at $3,000? Absolutely. So if you do it in the general range of under $100 or whatever your subjective side of it is.
Price into it last week on a $19 bottle.
Well, I always do, just simply because I don't disagree with you guys. Oh, he's offended. Of course you are, right? No, I just love you. He put a laughy emoji after that. No, I think that if you're going to put your hard-earned cash towards, or use your not hard-earned credit towards it, but if you're going to buy the bottle, I hope Tony doesn't knock over the table. If you're going to do it, I think you have to have that in there. That being said, with this being $54.99, I think that I was going to say 8, but I'm going to say 7 just because I don't know if I would gravitate at that price point back to this bottle as my preferred rye. I also think that it's a good bottle. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it when someone else buys it. Or if it was donated to the podcast, which we've had before. It's something that I would say, I think it was Adrian, who's going to be on the podcast here coming up here in the upcoming weeks. I think he's the one that said it. This would probably make a mean Manhattan, or he said old fashioned, but I think it'd make a mean Manhattan.
I can take this home and make a old fashioned. I did that with another rye that I have.
Yeah.
I did a maple syrup rye old fashioned.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll give it a 7. It is very good, and I think that's a positive rating. It's not going to be a 9 or 10, only because I don't think I'm going to go back to it. Now, if I tried again and wanted to give it another shot or drink it while I'm not smoking the cigar, I'd be game for that. The cigar, I'm going to give an 8. I think this is a good cigar at that $9 to $10 price point. I think it's a well-constructed cigar. You didn't really bring in the construction. I think it smokes very well. The draw is nice. Beautiful wrapper leaf. Good ash. Like I said, it's I don't want to say light. It's just a little lighter, but maybe that's just the size of the cigar. But I think it's got great flavor. I think that it does smoke differently with us having this Magnolia. But
when you were reading their notes, you said it was they listed as a fuller body smoke.
It's a full period.
No.
And that's what I'll disagree with there. I don't think it's full.
For me, this is medium.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's more medium, maybe medium plus. So yeah, 8 on the cigar. I'm going to give the pairing, though. I'm going to stick with the 8 on that because I think I enjoy this cigar more now that I'm tonight. The whole experience, I do enjoy. The retro hail is different than I remember when I was smoking on Tasty Tuesday.
Okay.
I think that this is a nice, but it's more. It's the opposite of what you said. What you said, Nate, was that it doesn't give anything more to the whiskey
except spice.
Except spice. The whiskey is actually complementing the cigar a little bit more, in my opinion. So I think that's why I like it, because I'm really enjoying the cigar more with this drink, and I like the drink. I don't love it.
Okay.
So that's why I think the pairing is definitely an 8. So with that being said, you guys keep the conversation going. We're going to go into intermission here briefly. And
we have no more raffle prizes.
Not at the moment. You have to bring it up. I was just going to let it go. But yeah, so guys, thank you very much. Patreon.com/BourbonBS podcast. Nate really sold you on that one with that comment. But we appreciate the support. It definitely helps us keep this thing going, along with our sponsors, Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Check it out. They have some of the diesel products and have a diesel event coming up in mid-June. I want to say it's July 15th, I think, whatever that Thursday is. I think it's July 15th. I'm working on the details with them on that. So please check them out in Columbus, Ohio. Ian says, see, I miss out again. All right. You're going to have a great Christmas present, buddy. Yeah, I know. And he's also bringing bottles to us. So.
Oh yeah, I think
very, very generous.
I think we're gonna have him on that week.
Yeah, Adrian says raffle the Stetson, the Magnolia. Guys, thank you very much for the support, and also Alternate USA. So we've got the Reserva Real on deck if we get to that, but Romeo Julieta, H. Upman, Monte Cristo. Thank you, Tony.
Onyx Butera.
Yeah, that's right. And also, BS Cigar Company, Gold and Silver. Gold will be back in stock. As Todd says, raffle an old man walk with Tony. Please, you can take him right now. He needs it. He needs it. Ian's going to be in town on the 7th. Guys, thank you very much. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Cheers.
Cheers.
Stay tuned for part 2 after a brief intermission. Guys, enjoy your week. We'll see you soon.
since we're in the intermission, I do have something for you.
Okay. Tony, come here. What we got here? Oh my gosh, this is a collar for Tony.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Should be your number.
It is my number. How do I get the rabies tags and stuff on there?
I think you should be able to.
Just on here?
Yeah, you should be able to slide them on or hook them on there.
This is from you and Jess. This is what you guys were working on.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. Guys, check this out. Yeah. Tony's kind of the podcast dog. So you guys can't see this, but it's a leather collar.
Yes.
Leather collar.
Same company that does that did my belt.
Oh, yeah.
They do a lot of equine leather work and stuff.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you very much, man. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
That's very nice. You're not going to tear this one apart, buddy. You're not going to tear that one apart. Thank you very much.
I don't know. He might chew on it. It is leather.
I'm not putting it down there. Right. Finally laid down, and now we've got him excited again. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Put the tags on there. We'll try that out, see if he can break it. 35-pound just ball of muscle.
Yeah, he is.
Now, don't go after the plastic, dude.
Here. I think I can hit this.
You've got toys right there, man. All right. Let's hope he wears out here. Now he's looking at the trash can for that. We appreciate you guys being a part of our family here.
Oh, Jess said they do repairs.
They do repairs. On the dog?
Nope, you're on your own for that.
All right. He wasn't paying attention. He was paying attention to some squirrels running across on the walk this evening. And he's just like looking that way. I'm like, come on. And then he just like, there's like a crater in the grass. And I think he like bit it. And I'm like, here we go. I gotta take him to, I'm thinking like, please walk right. And he did. I was like, oh, fuck, here. He's going to like break a leg or something like that. Nope. He's indestructible.
Sunday, Monday, you and I are going to be in Louisville.
Yeah.
Are we going to do any type of broadcast check-in while we're down there or anything?
We'll probably do some live stuff. I'm going to bring the equipment. Maybe not that. We might just do like a USB mic or whatever.
Okay.
I might bring down the Yeti as well. Throw some of the equipment in there, or might just do, live on Facebook, through
phone
or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll definitely, so check us out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Nate and I are going to be meeting Elena from Bourbon and Blondes. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to do some distillery tours. There's going to be a lot of photography going on. I think we're just going to be shooting, on our phones just left and right. So we'll be sharing all that stuff. And then looking forward to next Wednesday, we've got Ann Dimmick, who's been on the podcast before.
Yeah.
We were at Watershed this last Sunday, two Sundays ago.
Yeah.
And she's fantastic. And after several drinks, we got her to agree to be on the podcast again with possibly a new product.
Yeah, which they actually just started releasing information about this week. So I think we can tell people. No, we're gonna. Okay.
Hopefully, we'll be able to tell people next week.
You have to follow Watershed on all their social media stuff in order to find out what
it was so funny. I was hanging out. I was at Turtle Creek Tavern last night.
Yeah, and
there's some whiskey people I was with, or like hanging out with that are all into it. Like they have a great what is it? Hotel Tango.
Yeah,
pick, and it's delicious. They don't have much of it left, so if you're in the Columbus area, check out Turtle Creek Tavern for Hotel Tango, the Turtle Creek barrel pick. It's very, very good. But Watershed came up that they were going to be releasing this new product, so the word's obviously out. And I just happened to say, yeah, it's fantastic, and it just like the record stopped. You know what I mean? It was like that record scratch, and like everyone's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh no, I had it a couple Sundays ago." And they're like, "How did you have it?" I was like, "Well, I was on a distillery tour." And like, "Yeah, how'd you have it?" I was like, I know some people. So Elena's listening right now, and we had who was it?
Freddie Burt.
Freddie Burt's like, I know some honey holes down there. If you're stopped by any liquor stores, and the first comment Elena throws out there, let me know. I'll write them down and check them out. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's funny. Todd Conley says, do I smell a meal opportunity? All right. I'll let everyone know my Venmo. Or patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast.
There you go.
All right. Let's let me get him a new bone here. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. Excuse me.
What's everyone smoking and drinking out there?
Before he tears down the stage.
I think so other than other than Todd Conley, has anyone else out there had this? The Magnolia, either the bourbon or the rye? And I think it's kind of interesting. They did a bottled and bond rye. Okay. They did a bottled and bond rye, but then just a wheated bourbon. And the wheated bourbon is coming in, they say 3 years. So that's one of the reasons why when I had the chance to pick up one of the 2 bottles, I gravitated more towards this because I know this is going to be at least 4 year, and a 4-year rye is typically a pretty good bottle because there's some other good ryes that are less than 4 year, 2 to 4 years. But the bourbon only being a 3 year, I was a little bit more cautious about pulling the trigger on that bottle just because it's a 3-year product. I think that's still coming out of MGP. Haven't had it, but it's wheated bourbon, so maybe we'll have to do that. Maybe
you're talking about the Magnolia.
Yeah.
All right. Is that available here?
Yes. The bourbon,
same price.
I believe it is.
All right. So
it's either 50 or 55.
All right. I got that bottle. We'll do that in the upcoming month or so.
I mean, whenever.
That sounds good. Unless someone out there wants to gift it to us, we'll be happy to accept any donations.
Yes.
Love you guys.
Just drop them off the house.
Yeah. Absolutely. He's talking about the bourbon blondes. Yeah, I can definitely get that to them, or if you want to send it one of the bottles to them, that absolutely we can figure that out, or send some sample bottles. All right, let's get into part 2 here, guys. Share it if you like it. Share it if you don't like it. That's fine too. I'm good with that. You need more water?
No, I'm good.
Have you drank any water?
I have.
Good.
Before we started.
Good. Thank you again for that.
I've had so much water and Gatorade today. Surprised I'm not in the bathroom.
All right. If you need to take a break at any time, go ahead. As also to you guys, if you need to take a break, go ahead.
Drink responsibly.
Drink water and liquor responsibly. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 174, part 2. We were enjoying some Pike's Magnolia special quality whiskey, established 1849. In part 1, we reviewed that, as well as the I'm still smoking. You've still got about half a cigar. Yeah. When it's just 2 people on here, it's funny because you don't smoke as much as you're talking. But the diesel grind, so we also featured that. That's going to be coming out of AJ Fernandez's factory. And that's available at the Tinder Box at Easton, which is one of our sponsors. So that's in Columbus, Ohio. Check them out. They've got a couple diesel cigars, as well as a diesel cigar event featuring the Whiskey Row series coming up, including a limited edition. That's the Barber Pole Whiskey Row Sherry Cask that comes in these really cool little mini barrel humidors.
Yeah.
They're going to be available as well. Check them out if you're in the Columbus area. If you're not in the Columbus area, they definitely ship about once a week. Not Amazon, but check them out. Appreciate the support from Tinder Box at Easton. We appreciate your guys' support to our sponsors. And then also Altadis USA behind us, Romeo Julieta, Monte Cristo, H. Upman. You mentioned Onyx, Nate, Butera, handful of others. Great products. Thank you, Josh Bentley, for the continued support there. We were working on, he was at some distillery today. I was talking to him on the phone. He was like real quiet, like he was in church. And I said, hey, is everything all right, man? He's like, yeah, I'm at this distillery right now with so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. I was like, perfect. Call me tomorrow.
You called him or he called you?
I called him, but he picked up. it literally sounded like he was like the back pew at church. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, Steve, what's going on, man? I'm like, nothing. I'm in my car. I'm driving to the gym. What's going on? Like, I'm like yelling on the Bluetooth. And I can't really talk right now. And I'm like, it's just kind of really nice that he picked up, though.
Yeah. He acknowledged you called.
I could have texted. Also, BS Cigar Company, the gold should be coming back in. Looking forward to that. And then also the silver is now readily available, and I've been enjoying that. We've had a lot of good reviews on the BS Silver. We had a guy out there, if you guys are part of the Bourbon and BS community page, Bobby Hirschman, who's a great supporter of the podcast and also the community. Great guy out of Philly. He and a couple of friends came in town to Columbus just because of the community page. And they fell in love with the BS Silver. So, I mean, I've got to send him a bundle of them, the Toro size, next week. So, yeah, check that out, please, guys. BS Cigar Company, as well as the Bourbon BS community page. It's kind of an extension of it. And then also patreon.com/Bourbon BS podcast. You guys are awesome. We hope you continue to support the podcast. I'd love to really grow that. And, we're working on the whole t-shirt thing. I know we're just basic guys, out of Columbus, Ohio. So we've got great designs. We get a lot of comments on the shirts and stuff that we do, but we'd like to get this a little bit bigger. And part of that is the support financially, because, we're two hardworking guys that it's not like we're independently wealthy to just kind of do this big project. So all the support is really, really well received and appreciated, guys. That being said, what I said, the topic was say good morning.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up with topics for the show for part 2 is sometimes a little difficult. This morning we had, and I'll share, Bobby Hirschman. I brought him up. All right, chill out, buddy. This morning I was walking Tony as he's whining right now, and I might have to take a break to feed him. I don't know. We'll see. But we had Bobby Hirschman that posted a meme, and he said, tomorrow's topic, which I love that. Anytime you guys have something you want to hear our perspective on, not only cigar or whiskey wise, but just please let us know. And so he posted a meme, and I'll read it here in a second. But I'm on this walk, and excuse me while you guys hear this. I'm actually got some treats here. Come here, bub.
Over here. I can pull it up if you want to take care of.
Over here. Trying to.
I got pulled up if you want to take care of Tony.
Well, I'm not going to take him out. But so I was on the path. We were on the path. And I got to be honest, it really is a great social commentary. I talked about it, what was it, a few weeks back when I could have done without that because I was smoking a cigar.
That was a couple months ago, I think.
Been that long.
Yeah.
So I took a walk on the path. This is Alum Creek Trail. So we go on these old man walks. We've talked about it before on here. And this morning, for example, I saw 4 people, which is not that many, but I saw 4 people. One lady I see her out there sometimes. She's got her sunglasses on, headphones in, just stonewalls me the entire time. And I'm kind of wrapping up the leash on my hand and everything like that. But every time I smile, I'm like, good morning. Even if I'm hungover, I'm tired or whatever it is, but I'm just out there. Sometimes I'm smoking a cigar. Sometimes I'm not. But I'm look at her, and she just doesn't I don't even exist. I'm like, okay.
I get that too.
Usually?
When I'm doing my walks. Go ahead.
So I'm good morning, and I fucking nothing. I'm like, all right. Kind of one of those go fuck yourself, you got your own issues going on. Clearly you're miserable in life and you just don't like me for whatever reason. That's fine. I don't know you. And then it was within 2 minutes, another lady's walking by. No headphones that I see. Not even the AirPods.
Mm-hmm.
No sunglasses. So I can see your eyes. I see your eyes. And I'm holding my dog, and I've got a cigar, but I'm not puffing it as I see her coming. So I kind of pull back.
I do that too.
And of course, we're losing connection as soon as we get to this. But then it's one of those things that I good morning.
No,
now I can see that you're deliberately not even looking at me. You don't have sunglasses on, and it's I don't exist anymore. And I, for whatever reason, and I don't know if she heard me or not, but I look at Tony. I'm like, can't even fucking say good morning to people anymore without them acting like assholes.
Ooh.
And I had already passed her, and maybe I was, in
a little passive aggressive.
Not passive aggressive. That was very aggressive. No, I could have it's not passive aggressive because I didn't say it to her because I'm not gonna because you can't as a person, male especially, say it to people anymore, especially a female on a walking path in the woods. That's just not something I'm gonna turn around and be like, hey, can I talk? No. But it's just really annoying. So yes, it was passive aggressive, which I hate. I'm more of the passive aggressive where you don't say there's a problem. You just kind of roundabout it way. That was more of it was indirectly aggressive. How about that?
That works.
I'm justifying it right now. I'm rationalizing.
You're being aggressive about it, but internally.
Well, I was talking to my dog. How about that? That's fine. And yeah, if she heard it, then she could have said something. But she obviously I don't exist to her at all. So it's in the Midwest, a lot of times people talk about it. And I remember when I went to college here as well, I had friends from other states, Midwest and otherwise, and they would say something it's really weird because I'm walking down the sidewalks on campus, and I went to Miami University, and it's everyone says hi to you.
Yeah.
Where I come from, like, no one does. They just keep to themselves. And I'm like, it's fine. I mean, it's just like you acknowledge the existence. And it is a very, there's, like, we've talked about it before, I think, in the past, where it's like, hey, how you doing this morning? You don't expect much.
I'm doing good.
Good. How about you? Yeah, I'm good. All this stuff. Like,
cool.
It's the ones that you complete stranger, like, how you doing this morning? And they're like, my wife left me. And you're like, oh,
we're actually going to do this.
Okay. Can I get let me grab my coffee first. You know
might need to add something to that coffee.
Yeah. That's, we're all right. My name's Steve. What's your name?
I had it happen with my old boss. First time he came to Columbus, he was in an elevator and someone started chatting him up in the elevator. And he's like, wait, are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Like,
where's he from?
Boston. He's like, no one does that there. You know, when I was picking him up at the airport, someone stood like right behind him waiting on their ride. And so when I stopped to pick him up and he looks and sees this person's like right on top of him, he's like, are you getting in this car too? And they're like, no, I'm just waiting on my ride.
Yeah.
Like this, there was no, 6 feet distancing, even at the airport and in the elevator.
Recently.
Well, I mean, that was 8 years ago.
But... yeah, well, that didn't exist.
But no, I mean, there are some people like today. I saw all 3 types that I come across typically in my walks. You get the one person that'll stay on the sidewalk and we'll pass each other and we'll acknowledge each other, whether it's, nod our head, say good morning, wave, something like that. I had one lady get off the sidewalk to walk on the curb in the street, but along the curb. But she actually smiled, waved, said morning. Like she was the first one to initiate that. And then I get this other couple, and I don't know it. So I've ruled out it's the cigar because there have been times they've done this when I haven't smoked a cigar in the morning. I don't know if it's just me or just people. But
it is people. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
But or it could be their dog, and they don't want their dog to go ape shit. But they will literally cross the road to the other side of the street.
So I'll comment on that. I've done that as well. So today, this evening, I'm walking down, the sidewalks to the paths, and there's this girl. I say girl is like, probably teenager, 20-year-old, whatever. But like she's got headphones on. She's got this little like dog that kind of is the size of a squirrel or a bunny, which I'm already kind of nervous about because that's Tony's, like go-to
toy.
Sure. But
plaything.
And she's kind of like, she stops. So I'm walking. Tony's kind of going at it a little bit. And she's just like listening to whatever she's listening to, on her headphones. And Tony's going crazy. So I'm like, all right, come on, let's go. And I kind of like pick up the pace. Then she starts walking the same direction on the other side of the street. I'm like, Jesus, come on. But when I see people coming my way, dogs or otherwise, there are times that I'll cross the street just to avoid that kind of, all right, just chill out. Let's just move on. You know what I mean?
Is it because you have Tony?
Because I have Tony.
Okay.
If it was just because it was just me walking down the street with a cigar.
But see, I'm
not going to bail if you bail. Like, all right, now I'm offended.
See, I've had other people that have walked dogs that I've come across in the morning, and like they may get, cut into the first driveway and wait for me to pass. But they still, today
they have dogs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I do that on the pass. I'll step off into the grass and I'll kind of wait till the bike goes by or whatever it is. I don't know. Yeah, Elena says one of my favorite things about going for a run are fellow runners. Mouthy high or a wave? I think mouth a high. That's like a motorcycle. Like when I rode motorcycle, there's always the motorcycle wave.
I think she means like they're verbally saying hi.
Yeah. Mouthy high. Or it's being mouthy and just being like, hey, how the fuck are you doing?
On your left.
Yeah, normally on the paths they say on your left, and tonight I'm walking this dude. I just hear him just I'm like, what the fuck is that? This dude's like booking it and all that stuff. I'm like, all right, dude, you're going on sprints right now. Anyways, the whole thing about say good morning was that really got to me is that like you are ignoring me as a person. I'm not offended. I like clearly it doesn't bother me because I'm insulted. It bothers me because like we had that one, like, what the fuck is your problem? It's just like one of those things. It's like, just have the decency. And I can even bring it in now. Is like, given what we've been through over the last 18 months, like, just say hello. Show me that the reason we did all this bullshit, and I'm not bullshit because it wasn't, but you know what I mean? Went through all these measures for the simple fact that it was for you as a stranger. The reason that people lost their jobs, you know, businesses shut down, we sheltered in place, was because we're supposed to care about each other and take care of it. And sorry about the toilet paper shortage and all that you know, bullshit. But it's like, if I'm out there, at least say hi. If I say hi to you, say good morning back. If you don't, give me a nod.
Yeah.
Something.
So I just remembered because it's been a while since I've had to walk to the office. But a few years ago, I was walking to the office, and there was one particular person that I would always cross paths with and on my walk, and we were going opposite directions. And you know, it started out like sometimes I'd be like, "Hey, during the wintertime, like, hey, watch out! There's a really slick spot, you know, right up here on the sidewalk."
It's like flashing your brights when there's a cop the other way.
Yeah. But so there was,
because we're all in it together.
So there was one day we were crossing paths, and make hello okay again. There we go.
Todd out there. Todd Conley making t-shirts.
Is he drunk? Because that's where. Never mind.
That's my creative process.
So one day we're crossing paths, and he was wearing a Pittsburgh Penguins shirt.
Oof.
And the Blue Jackets were playing Pittsburgh that night. And so I actually stopped, and like he and I actually started talking.
Yeah.
Turns out, so I start my walk at OSU and walk downtown near Nationwide Arena. He lives right across the street from Nationwide and works at OSU. So that's how we are literally crossing paths. We have the same distance walk, and we were making jokes about both of us getting hit by cars in crosswalks. And
sounds funny.
Turns out his name is Nate.
Were you talking to yourself? I feel like there's a glitch in the Matrix at this point.
No, but I mean, it.
Does he look like you? Do he have a beard? And
he does have a beard. He's heavier than me. Does he wear
Carhartts on his walk in the winter?
No.
Probably didn't come up, but he might.
But no, I mean, so then, you know, he and I would actually stop whenever we'd see each other and, you know, just have a brief conversation in the morning. But it all started because we actually
hanging out.
It was because we all, you know, it started out by us saying hi, and it's like, oh, you're a Penguins fan, I'm a Blue Jackets fan, and you know, we live and work at the opposite ends of our walks.
Yeah,
and so there was a commonality there that we didn't know, and we just started chatting up, and then later on, he and I ended up going to a Blue Jackets playoff game together.
Were the wives involved, or was this a date? Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just asking. I mean, like,
he scalped a couple tickets late in the first period.
Todd Conley says this is like drunk history segment. Ian says Nate has a glitch. There you go. I like it. I will say, so have you talked to him recently? How's he doing?
I think when I was picking up my wife from an eye doctor's appointment the other day, I saw him walking home, but he was all the way on the other side of the street. So, and I was just sitting in the car.
Did you honk and wave? Or?
But he usually has his headphones on and stuff too. But again, it got to the point where.
Do you have his number?
No. It got to.
How do you go to a Blue Jackets game and coordinate that?
Because he had mentioned it the day before the game.
Old school.
I
got it. Avi says bromance. Yeah. It's a Nate Mance.
Fuck off, Avi.
That's a Nate Mance. You wouldn't understand, Avi. You're not named Nate. God.
But no, it got to the point because so he always would listen to music with headphones or earbuds in, which when I do my walk, when I would walk to work, I wouldn't have any music playing whatsoever because I want to be aware of what's around me.
Yeah.
Even when I do my walks now, like I'll have music playing on my phone, but it's not in my ears. like my phone's in my pocket. So,
I started doing that on my walks too.
So that way I'm still aware of what's going on around me.
Yeah.
But it would get to the point where when he and I would pass each other, like he would actually take off his headphones. So that way he and I could actually have a brief conversation in passing.
That is a Nate Mance if I've ever heard one.
That's what I give
Nate, if you're out there.
We're not even on social media friends.
Well, you never know. Never know who follows who or where the connection. It's a small world, my friend, as we all know.
Last I checked, he's not a cigar or whiskey guy.
You just never know. I was on the path, so that in contrast, and I just remember that because you were talking about that Nate Mance. That's gonna stick. I'm gonna keep saying. Todd Conley says end to end. That's taking it too far. I feel like Nate to Nate.
Is
that on Craigslist?
Oh, that's it. No more sharing shit.
As I was walking back up the path to the neighborhood, and I ran into one of the guys that lives down there with Kodo, which is the dog, and that's how we know each other. We know dog names. But I was talking to him about, he was limping a little bit, and apparently he had a knee kind of blowout, literally like on the walks. A little older gentleman, probably 60, I'd say. I apologize because he found out I do a podcast, because this other guy I've never seen before walking down the path, down to the paths on that little connection. And he starts looking at us as we're talking, and the dogs are kind of playing real quick. And taller guy, he's got like a tattoo sleeve, and it kind of looks military or whatever, but he's looking at us, and I'm like, look back at him, and how you doing? He's like, your voice sounds familiar. I'm like, oh. And no, that's not going to work. You don't want to shut his mouth here, but let me give it.
No, keep talking.
I got to give him treats at the same time. It's been an interesting segment here. Just give him some whiskey, see what happens. I go to sleep.
Pour this in his bowl.
There you go. There's some rye for you there, Tony. But no, he says that your voice sounds familiar. And I said, and he looks down, I'm holding a cigar. So I'm like about to say Tinder Box at Easton. And he says, bourbon and BS? And I'm like, yeah. He knows Shannon Chapman. Apparently he used to cut Shannon's hair. And Tony trained you well, Steve. He has. We take care of each other. But he's like, yeah. He's like, you live in the neighborhood? And I'm like, yeah, I live on Rangel. He's like, I live off of this. I was like, yeah, you should come over. But it was like one of those things. It was really funny. And then this other side neighbor that I see, at the end of the court before we get there, he's like, oh, you have a podcast. As I was listening to, I was listening to Bourbon and Blondes this morning because they posted their new episode. So it's all about talking. It's okay to talk to people is my big thing. So at this point, I do want to bring up Bobby Hirschman's. Do you have it pulled up?
I did.
All right. You're on an 11 there, Tony. I need you to take it down to about a 4. Want to go lay down? Go lay down. All right. So Bobby Hirschman says, this is so in bad language, explicit warning. Love your fucking life. Take pictures of everything. Tell people you love them. I feel like I wrote this. Talk to random strangers. Do things that you're scared to do. Fuck it, because so many of us die and no one remembers a thing we did. Take your life and make it the best story in the world. Don't waste that shit. So that's what he kind of threw out there. I was gonna maybe put it out there, but I thought that the good morning thing happening this morning was very relevant. Nate, what do you have to say about that?
About what Bobby
posted there. And anyone out there listening, guys, you as well, chime in there.
So, no, like the second line is actually what stood out to me. Take pictures of everything, because while I may post on, say, the community page or my personal Facebook or Instagram or whatever, like I'll post pictures of a cigar that I'm smoking, something I'm drinking. Obviously, I post when I do Steak and Wine Sunday, because there were people that were like, hey, where's the photos this week? I'm like, oh, I didn't realize you guys actually wanted to see that shit. So yeah, I'll start posting that stuff. But like, as soon as I post that stuff, I delete it out of my photos.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll make that joke with people in the shop, people that can't forget or can't remember what cigar it was they had. I'm like, take a picture, because it seems like nobody other than me deletes photos from their phone. So just take a picture of the band and you'll have it, because everyone loses the band, forgets it, it goes through the washer, they throw it away, whatever. But I also remembered seeing one where there was like a parade or something, and you had a bunch of people lining the sidewalks and everything. And this one section of the photo, there's probably 20 people along the barricade on the sidewalk, and almost every single person has their phone out, looking down the street.
I had another one.
Taking taking videos or taking pictures of this parade, and then you have just this one older lady just standing there in the front row, just watching it. Some kind of like, I saw that today too, and it reminded me
Jonathan
of it as
Heron,
well.
who was just on the podcast recently, he reposted this. It was like someone's tweet. It's like, local hero watches golf without phone. There's Phil Mickelson. Everyone's got their phone out, and this dude's just got his arms crossed. Looks like he should be in Letterkenny, that show.
He does.
He's got like this trucker hat on and
pulled down kind of low.
And looks like he's like kind of really firm person, and he's just staring at the guy playing golf. I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about.
The takeaway I had when I saw the picture, though, is you have all these people, they're experiencing it through a camera lens, but you have someone else who's experiencing it with their own eyes. And what it made me think of, and we've seen the memes before, I'm sure, like when it's a nice fall night or summer night, clear sky, you're on your back patio, Steve, smoking a cigar with Tony. Yeah. You look up and there's this big, beautiful full moon out. You go to take a picture of it with your phone, and that moon is like that fucking big. It's like it's really tiny on your phone.
It doesn't look like real life.
It looks better with your own eyes.
I agree.
And so I was thinking, like, sometimes we take photos in replacement of the experience.
That's fair, and that's what I like about Bobby Hirschman's post, right? Is that it's something that as we always say, find that balance, right? Take some pictures.
Like when
I've gone on trips before, and that's the goal. Us going down to Louisville also is like, we can just blitz through it, have a great time, tell people stories, or we can take pictures.
Yeah,
we all have to take pictures, have shared album, whatever we want to do. But don't be afraid to stop and be that person to say, hey, let's take a picture real quick.
Yeah,
because I feel like sometimes that does get lost, and then our memories fade a little bit, and it's nice to see a picture of that group. It also goes into personality types. I will say that. I mean, I know that for fact is that we've talked about disc personality, the different personalities you have: driver, influencers, steady. Jesus, no, that's that bottle and bond sinking in right there. Steady and compliant, excuse me. So driver, influencer typically is someone that you walk into their house or you walk into their office, and there's pictures everywhere of their family and them with certain people, certain events. This is something that drivers have it too, where sometimes the steady and compliant don't, right? So this is it's something that you're ingrained with or something you work on. But I would encourage everyone to, like, as Bobby Hirschman's post is take pictures, like really like post it. I mean, that's I've talked about social media as being something that originally was supposed to be friendly. Just move your hand up.
He's just resting his head right on my lap.
Just move your hand above the table, above board there. See what happens.
No, one of the things I was thinking of, like,
this podcast has changed a bit with Tony in the garage.
With
Shannon out here to walk him.
Yeah, with smartphones and us being able to take so many pictures, like, people take pictures of everything. Some people do. They take pictures of everything. What they're eating for breakfast, lunch, dinner, what they're doing. At 11 o'clock in the morning, like, they take a shit ton of pictures, but like they don't really have a whole lot of meaning. Back when you actually had a camera with film, and you had maybe 27. Like, if you had the disposable cameras, or even if you had film, like, you only have so many pictures you can take with that film.
Right.
So you wait until you have a picture-worthy moment to actually take that picture.
Or we just get more film. I don't know, man. We're in a different world right now.
Get more disposable cameras.
But
I mean, I have a whole shoebox that is full of developed photos.
Yeah.
That I had taken.
Yeah, those as well. Yeah.
And part of the reason I was doing that was because when I was in 8th grade, our basement flooded, and all the photo albums and everything that my mom had got destroyed in the flood.
Yeah.
So there's almost no pictures of me as a kid anymore, or my mom when she was younger, or her parents. Like, all those photos are gone because they were destroyed. But the same thing can happen with a cell phone. You
got the cloud. I look at this, it's like, it's fun to look at. So we talked what was it with Spencer and Jake about, like, and I said, don't wait for the funeral, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things is that, with the funerals, a lot of times you see these old pictures, family pictures, stuff like that. And it's great because a lot of it is like Polaroids, and then it's even further beyond that, right? At least in my life, it's really neat to see these old photos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh man, like, I can't believe you kept these. I can't believe you took these. But it's a way of documenting. There's a time that we were fascinated with photography in a different way. And now we have these phones you're talking about. And Ray Chester says pictures have no meaning anymore. Sometimes they get watered down. And I agree. If you're buying an iPhone, it's different for everyone. My iPhone, and now I'm going to have to get another one here coming up in the upcoming months. But I get the 256 gig memory because I do take pictures. I've been taking more pictures now doing the walks. Mm-hmm. And just like your steak and wine Sundays, it's one of those things that as you don't know who is watching your social media, just let them go. Don't buy into it. You don't know who's doing it. Same thing with doing the podcast. You keep doing it every week because you don't just get discouraged, but it's the regular side of it. Tonight was one of those things once again, and we know he watches it, but we're setting up and everything like that. We don't start right at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Ray Cheshire is like, so no podcast this week, and it's. I guess my point is that when I stopped posting my posts on the Old Man Walks, and it's just like Instagram stories, Facebook stories, there were some people who were like, oh, you didn't go walking today? And there were people that were reaching out. I've talked about it on the podcast before that there are people reaching out saying that they really appreciate some of my openness and everything like that, because I don't always convey that all the time if you just have a general interaction with me. You know what I mean? But if you have more, if you know me better, and we have the opportunity to do it. So I look at the photos as ways to document not only things that you may forget, but I especially the fond memories of people, especially, but places you go to, or just even your everyday. Like my phone is flooded with Old Man Walk pictures at this point for the last 6 months. And I recently scrolled back through. And I'm like, God, I need to delete some of these. And then all of a sudden I remember, I was like, oh man, that looked really pretty in the winter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a way to document it.
See, you at least walk through a nice trail. There's woods around. There's bridges. There's flowing streams. I walk around my neighborhood. So after a while, I stopped taking pictures of what cigar I'm smoking on my morning walk.
Well, I also thought it was funny when I saw there was a condom wrapper on the sidewalk. I thought that was a good post. I mean, that's fair to share. There's a fire truck at like 8 a.m. in the morning. And I had no idea what was going on in the neighborhood. That's before I went on the trails. But I mean, you got to find the beauty in anything, including a gold condom wrapper in the yard.
Was there a plastic bag floating in the wind?
There wasn't, but I will document that.
10 points to anyone who remembers that movie reference.
That was Kevin Spacey was in it. He was canceled, but he was in it.
So was Annette Bening?
Not Beautiful Mind.
No, that was Russell Crowe.
Yeah, him.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's just this plastic.
God damn. What movie is
American
this?
Beauty.
I was going to see if anyone out there was doing it. Bobby Hirschman says, I take pics of everything. Don't judge me. Doesn't matter if we judge you. You don't care. That's what I love about it. And we're talking about your post here. Ray Chester says he feels a little bullied. You did stop being so easily offended tonight.
Yeah, he's British.
All right. Do things that you're scared to do. All right, so let's go. Let's dissect this. What were we at right here? We got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Love your fucking life. That is something I'm gonna really address really quick. Ian says American Beauty, so 2 points to him. You get a T-shirt.
Don't know when, but you'll get one.
3X coming your way.
2 at this point.
Sorry, Ian. Love your fucking life. This is probably this thing starts with that. That is the toughest thing I think for a lot of people to do. Is love your fucking life, because sometimes when things are going well, yes. When things are not going well, you feel that depression. It's not easy, but that's why I like the rest of this. And these are like words of advice, in my opinion, that these are ways to boost yourself. So, all right. So let me walk you through this here, Nate, and everyone else. Love your fucking life. All right. So now I'm depressed. I don't want to get out of bed and all that stuff. All right. So now I challenge you today. Get out of bed first, right? Get through the morning. Look in the mirror. We've talked about this on the podcast. I challenge you today to take 5 pictures of things that you enjoy today. So okay. I'm looking at this thing, and this is like a meme, right? This is like a very long bumper sticker of like, and some people are like, yeah, let's go me, like go life. No, now you look at it, you dissect it, take pictures of everything. So now I challenge everyone out there listening, whether you're listening on the live or whatever, audio. For those that are listening out there, and Bobby, you're not gonna have a problem with this. Ray, you might, because you think pictures are wasted. Who else do we have out there? Dave Gordon. There are more pictures taken in the past year than right. So anyone out there listening, and I encourage you guys to share this thought, is challenge everyone that post this. Take 5 pictures today. So that's going to be tomorrow, right? And I challenge you, Nate. I'm going to do the same thing, right? So tomorrow is Thursday. Take 5 pictures of things that you are enjoying during tomorrow and post them on your Instagram stories, your Facebook stories, your Facebook page, your Instagram, Bourbon and BS community page. That's where I want to see it, because I know you guys are listening and you're out there. But post, like, you can do it in one post. You separate it, whatever, when it's happening. 5 pictures of things that you enjoy tomorrow.
Okay.
As a challenge. Your floating paper bag, whatever it is that you want to do, American Beauty.
Plastic.
Whatever. Paper's better for the environment, I think. But anyways.
It is.
5 pictures tomorrow, guys. Everyone out there, if you're listening in the audio, do it later, whatever. But try that. Try that. I'm going to do the same thing. And it can be on the old man walk if you do it. If you're walking your dog, you're smoking a cigar, you can, whatever you're enjoying, literally. Sunset, whatever. Like challenge yourself to document that and put it out there. Don't just take pictures of everything, period. No, like how many? Try it tomorrow. Tell people you love them. Let's go down the list here. What do you want to say about that? Tell people you love them.
Well, I think with that is,
what do you want to say to Nate out there? Nate, if you're listening,
fuck off. Go fuck yourself, Steve.
End to end.
Oh no! Then Ian came up with a whole mathematical formula.
All right, go ahead. All right. Tell people you love them.
Well, I mean, so tell people you love them. It's easy to tell the people that are in your household, that are your significant other, your kids, the people that you see every day. I think a better challenge with that.
All right. Yeah. What's the challenge?
The family members that you don't talk to all that often. The ones you don't see on a regular basis.
When was the last time you called mom, if you have mom still out there?
Had lunch with my mother on Monday.
Yeah.
She was in town. Had lunch with her on Monday.
There you go. Okay. That's a challenge for that one. Talk to random strangers. Say, Ron Jenkins, a good GFY reference. Yeah. No, that's a drink, I think. I don't know. Talk to random strangers. I tried that. That's what kind of spurred me on this subject about saying good morning. Go out there. Don't be offended. Don't talk to your dog. As you said, I say indirect aggressive. Sometimes I get in the rut also with that, being face-to-face with people all the time. And even people that I know, it's literally you skip over the pleasantries. So it's just like, hey, what's going on? What can I get you today? And I find myself at the register sometimes that I'm like, how's your day going? I think there's a difference sometimes when you're talking to people that you talk to on a regular basis too, like significant other, right? So you and Jess, that might be a challenge, right? So talk to strangers is one thing, but then push it to be that question person. How are you this morning? You don't always have to just leave it at the pleasantries.
You did that a little bit Tuesday when I was at the shop. I noticed there was a customer that you'd grab cigars for, and you were ringing them out, and based on his
staring at the tray.
based on his credit card he was using, you thought he was military.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, my son's actually in the military. But when he said it in a very depressing. Bobby, the topic is what you posted. But when he brought up that his son was in the military, it wasn't a happy, joyful, proud, my son's in the military. He's like, he just signed another contract, which means he's going to be in for at least another 4 or 6 years.
Yeah. And he'd been in the shop before. So,
yeah. And the reason he wasn't happy about it is because his son's an EOD tech, explosive ordnance disposal. For those of you who don't know what that is, watch the movie Hurt Locker. And I overheard that when I was sitting at the front table. And as he was walking by, I told him about this interview where someone interviewed an EOD tech. And they're like, what's the most stressful part about it, about the job? And the tech goes, there's no stress in my job whatsoever, because if I fuck up, it's instantly someone else's problem. That's how
too much. Don't laugh too much.
That's how that person dealt with that situation. Because yes, a lot of us sit there and think, oh my gosh, that would be an extremely stressful job. But if you're in that job and all you think about is that negative side, it can have a negative impact on you doing your job or doing your job well. And that's not a job that you can have an off day. But the way this guy approached it, he goes, I'm just going to do my job. If something goes wrong, it goes wrong, but it's not going to be my problem anymore.
That's fair.
I mean,
that's fair. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Do things that you're scared to do. I will say that comment in here, it's different for everyone, right? So, I mean, there are things that we go back to say good morning. Some people are literally scared to engage with strangers on the street or on the trail. And that might be something that when I look at that, what I said to them, when I say good morning, and I make it a good point because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you can't even say good morning back. Like, that's, first of all, it's rude. But maybe they're really scared. Maybe there's a history there. Maybe I don't understand what's going on. But I also look at the rest of this post. Some people are scared to do that, scared to do a lot of these things. Talk to random strangers. Some people are scared to tell people that they love them.
Ooh.
You look at that like, all right, do things that you're scared to do. All right, I'm scared to jump out of a plane, so I'm going to go do that. That's not always needed, right? Like, that's fine if you want to challenge yourself, if you think that is what you need to do. But I will say that sometimes it's the little things.
Maybe it's taking a chance on something.
Order something different from the menu.
Go to a different restaurant that you haven't been to.
Go to a restaurant
you haven't been to.
Tell a girl you like her. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I don't know how old everyone is out there.
You can do that. I can't get away with that. There's only one person I can tell that to.
Are you scared to come across wrong? So give a compliment to a female. How about that without hitting on them? How about that? There you
go.
All right. Fuck it, because so many of us die and no one remembers a thing we did. Someone does.
Yeah,
it's the audience there, right? So so many of us die and no one remembers the thing we did. I'll get real personal real quick here because it was more recent with Father's Day and the day that my dad passed away. I don't think that my dad would have expected 2+ hours at a wake of people wrapped around the funeral home. right? So you never know, but I guess don't go full blown like Kardashian, where you're like, I want to document everything and make money off of this so everyone remembers me.
Gotcha.
But also live your life in a way that, that hopefully it'll impact people, and it doesn't matter if it's the same thing we've said about this, right? It's like if one person reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I really enjoyed, last night's episode, and I really needed that topic," or Tasty Tuesday at the cigar shop had a real nice comment from Tasty Tuesday. "Hey, thanks so much for doing this video."
When you have those moments where you have
you touch someone's life, so someone remembers it.
So, doing this podcast for over 3 years now, do you find that when you do an episode and it relates to something, like all of a sudden the next day or two, someone comes into the shop, or maybe they downloaded the audio and listen to it. They come in like, "Hey, you did this episode on this. That was really what I needed to hear." And it's the only person that even said that to you about that episode. So we're talking about all the views that we get, the likes, the shares, the comments.
Yeah.
That one person actually comes up to you and says, "You know what? That really impacted me in a positive way." It almost makes you sit there and go, "All right, this is actually worth doing. This is worth keeping it going because I'm impacting someone. Whether I know it or not, I'm impacting someone every single week."
We all want to know that what we do with our time is worthwhile. So, with this, full disclosure, one of those things like with part 1, part 2, this is something that we started on the side. Jake Sanders and I, he's out. And I love it because he got his whole thing, with Burn by Rocky Patel in Indianapolis, through the cigar shop, through doing this podcast. Rob Wilson was the one that, he was asked, "Who do you have in the network in the area that might do it?" And he had been on the podcast and everything else. So that was a huge, huge win for just the effort, right? Yeah. It's also a huge win when we're smoking a cigar or drinking a whiskey and someone comes in and talks to us, like talks to me or whatever about, so like to your point, like even on the first part, it's worthwhile because it's conversation. This is something that's someone's watching, and we have people come in sometimes that I don't even know necessarily. I've not met them before, but they've listened to it and they're like, "Hey, I tried that whiskey, I tried that cigar, or where's that cigar you talked about 6 months ago?" But the part 2, what we're doing right now, I like it because it's typically on my mind. It's how my mind works. This is the part of the podcast that I really wanted to add when Jake and I were talking about it. And so when I see the comments, I see the community growing in the last couple of years, and I see that there is a benefit. It doesn't have to necessarily be a compliment or acknowledgement. That does make someone feel good. But even when I see like Ray and Ian out there, like in the last month, those guys are chatting more. Mm-hmm. Bobby Crow and Ray, I came back into the mix, and all of a sudden they had been talking amongst themselves. They'd never met in person. Those are those things that it's like you provide all that or provide an outlet. I'm not the cause of it, but it's like, to your point, doing this podcast on Wednesday nights, I would be just as grateful if I hung out with a group of people or one person and I made an impact on their life and they made an impact on mine. Because that's the other side of it, is that I think that it is very, very mutual. I learned so much from the comments and from seeing people comment back and forth on the community page and everything else.
We're like,
it's not about like me feeling like it's worth it. I more feel like it's worth it because I get so much out of it, both pleasure and also just seeing people connecting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the topic was, kind of brought to us by Bobby Hirschman, mm-hmm. who came into town a couple weeks ago. So Bobby had started listening to the podcast. He shared it. He sent us some t-shirts and stuff. And, he's done, a one-time donation and stuff like that. But because of the community and around the podcast, he came into town with a couple friends a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Right. And there were a couple of those nights that you went and hung out with
all the nights.
Yeah. But so when we talk to Bobby, through the community page or
and to Bobby, Scott, and Corey, you guys are awesome.
Either through the community page or through the broadcast, comments, messenger, whatever. Like, we have an opinion of that person, but then they actually come into town and we spend time with that person.
Yeah.
Did it change, or did it change at all? Like, how you saw or what you thought about Bobby actually hanging out with him in person?
He's pretty open, and those guys are so nice and all that stuff. All that it really changed was the fact that I think that I need to get out to Philly and I need to start. So that's to this post, it's like, do things you're scared to do. I'm not scared to do it. It's just one of those things is that I need to make time to do it. It's like, it's always either a work thing or a finance thing or whatever. It's like, all right, so if I want to do that, I don't go to the bar. I don't pop next door. I don't buy that bottle of bourbon. I don't do whatever it is. You know what I mean? I just make a tweak here and there so that I can make sure that I can do all that stuff, because I think that's where you find your happiness. If you set your goals to do that. Couple comments here from the audience. Dave, thank you very much, Dave Gordon, which I got to ship your stuff out. It's still sitting here. Some nights just listening to the conversation is a boost. And I appreciate that. I really do. I know we're not the smartest guys in the world. We're not the sharpest tools in the shed, but you guys really make the conversation go. And I appreciate all the guests that have been out here that have really added to it. And also remotely this last year, talking to Nick Perdomo here today. And he said anytime. So hopefully we'll get him either in the garage next trip up, but most likely we'll get him remotely.
Cool.
And his wife Janine is a big supporter and posts a lot of stuff on the community page.
I think when we had Nick the third.
So he's like, I've been on your podcast before. It was my son. I was like, it's your son.
That's still our highest viewed episode.
Laurel.
No, that episode surpassed Laurel's I think Laurel's ended up at like 5,300 views.
5.5.
5.5, and Nick's last time I saw was over 6,000.
All right. And that's the thing. They have a great following. All right. So I have not read this one, but Jody Jacks out there, big supporter of the podcast. Have not seen her because I don't go to Lifetime anymore. I'm sorry. I don't see her in the gym anymore, but I want to read this.
I know she had commented on Bobby's post, so I know she took this.
So I gotta blow this up here. I got these old eyes here. I think people remember how you make them feel. So yes, love your life. It helps others to see the beauty in theirs. Talking to random strangers can lead to lifelong friendships. Doing things that scare you helps to build your confidence and gets you out of your comfort zone and tells others how much you love them. Every day I try to find a new person in my life to tell them how much they matter to me. This meme is something I look at every day. I love it.
That actually reminds me of.
I think that's why she's such a big supporter of the podcast too. Is like, this is something that she found identity with, and she's always so sweet. That's amazing.
It kind of reminds me a little bit. Last year, I was sitting outside on my patio, and it is when my stepdad's health was failing.
Yeah.
And I sent him a text thanking him for everything he had done in my life and how big of an impact. And that is actually something I still have a screenshot of on my phone. One of the few pictures that I still have on my phone.
You're not going to delete that one.
No. I had sent him a text because I've known him ever since I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
Him and my mom married when I was in 9th grade.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, my 9th grade year. And so, but even before he was my stepfather, he had a very large impact on my life. And so I had sent him a text thanking him for the role he played in my life, in my development as a man.
Okay.
Because before he was ever my stepfather, he was the one that gave me the birds and the bees talk. It wasn't my dad. That's not
any. I never got that talk. I feel like that might be a problem. That's another podcast altogether.
Yeah, that's not a negative towards my dad. It was just something that.
Oh, it's just how it happened.
That's He he wanted to see me become the type of man he saw me becoming. So he tried to mentor me in certain areas of my life.
Yeah.
And so I had sent him a text thanking him for everything he had done in my life. And then probably about 10 minutes later, my mom sends me a text. So after I sent that text to my stepfather, he reads it, gets out of his chair, goes to the bedroom, picks out the suit that he wanted to be buried in, which also happened to be the suit that he wore when he married my mother. Picked out the suit, shoes, everything, laid it down on the bed, went, sat back down in his recliner, looked at my mom and said, "Now I'm ready." And yeah, there were some feelings when I was told that. There's still feelings now thinking about it.
I don't know how you're holding it together. You know me, I'd be crying. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's big. Very impactful.
And part of me sits there, and because that was within a week before he passed last year.
Yeah.
And there are times that I reflect on that because I see it on my phone. And there are times I sit there and I go, one, should I have said that earlier?
Nah, you can't think like that.
Should I have said it more often? And is there anyone that I should have said that to that I didn't get the chance to?
Well, that's big. Very impactful. Is there anyone out there that you could say that going forward more often to?
Oh, absolutely.
That's the lesson. That's how you keep going, right? And I think that's what your stepfather would want.
Mm-hmm.
That's the lesson learned. It's not about like it does. It starts with should I have said it earlier, more often, all that stuff. But it's all right. It's again linear history, right? So this is the way we live our life. So now it's like if you feel like you should have, then now you can. But it doesn't always have to be to that person that you no longer can do that to. I mean, I can relate a little bit, right? With some of the posts, and I'm pretty open about those posts about visiting the cemetery. Mm-hmm. But and I encourage everyone to do that because I'll say that's some of the biggest impact that when I post stuff about like just going out to my father's grave. It's funny, not about the likes, but I can see it. That I get more likes on those and more comments on those. And I hope that translates into what I'm saying now is that you may have an opportunity to say that to that person, or you may have the opportunity to say it to more people going forward. And that's the real lesson there is that you need to do that.
Well, I also think
you don't want to have that. Sorry. You don't want to have that cycle again. Well, I lost someone else in my life. Should I have said it more? Should I? It's like, when are you going to learn? Not you, Nate, but you, Nate, but also everyone else out there. But like, when are you going to learn? Like, how many people do you need to have to question yourself? Should I have said something earlier
before you actually do it?
And it's not always someone dying. It's someone just in your life. Like,
well, you brought up briefly, but a couple weeks ago when Spencer and Jake were on. You had made that comment, about not waiting until
don't wait till the funeral.
Don't wait till the funeral. I remember there were a couple classmates of my father's that had passed away in like back-to-back years.
Yeah.
And, always the same group of friends. So we all see each other again at the funeral homes. And I remember one year in particular, someone goes, "We need to quit meeting like this." And
the absolute goddamn truth.
Yeah, the way I took it was, you know what? Maybe we need to hang out more than once a year when one of our friends passes away.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. So these are life lessons right now, and I love, Bobby out here. I love the comments right now, by the way. I just put up Jody. You can't beat yourself up over the past. You can only use those lessons to make better choices moving forward. We got Bobby Hirschman out there crying, choking me up, Steve. It's all right. Jody Jacks says, Ian says, Jody Jacks, amen. You have to let your demons have their way so you can show up for people who need you. This is really briefly. I'm not going to just really dive down all these subjects, but your job, what have you done for me lately, right? So career wise, we've talked about that on the podcast. So should I have worked harder? Should I have put more effort into my Wednesday? No, yeah, these are the lessons. You know what I mean? That you should, don't wait until you lose your job or you're pissed off of your job because you didn't put enough effort in there. Don't wait until a relationship ends and you're like, I could have said I love you more. I could have been nicer. I could have done this. I could have shown more interest. Like I
could have tried harder.
Sometimes they end because not on your behalf, but these are the things that you at least put your side into it, so that you know that when it's all said and done, when things end, you're talking about the ultimate, final side of things. Did you do enough? Probably not. In your mind, because you're going through grief and all that stuff, whatever the situation is. Losing a loved one is obviously the biggest one. But now, how do you apply that going forward? How do you apply it to tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where this, taking this meme from Bobby Hirschman is, it ends. Take your life and make it the best story in the world. Don't waste that shit. And I think that's the biggest thing is now you turned it into you turn the next page, right? So now it's like I wake up tomorrow. Today's Wednesday. Here we are, and so you wake up on Thursday. Are you gonna take action on that, or are you gonna wait till the end of the day and be like, oh, I could have done this, I should have done this, and you repeat that cycle? Or do you get active? Do you just take action? And you do that. And that's the big thing. Like I could easily, and it's a combined thing, and I'm just talking about what I, posted recently, and you sharing that story, and we've talked about this, and going out to the cemetery is one of those things. It's like not everyone posts that stuff, but I have a couple of close friends that do, and every time I see theirs, I get impacted. When I do my posts, like I took Tony out there on Father's Day, and I didn't tell anyone, but so I'm sitting there, have this other guy in the cemetery, pulls up, and he visits several graves, so he's visiting family members. This is a Westerville's blended cemetery, and he stops. He said, "It's a really, really beautiful dog." Has a conversation while he's going through his shit, right? Like his Father's Day, he's going through his shit. But he chooses to have a conversation with me. I brought one of the camping chairs. I got a bottle of Jameson. I'm smoking a cigar. I got music playing on my phone. I'm making an event of it. And so this is 4 years ago. So now there's another couple of rows before the street where I park, and this lady pulls up in an Accord. And I'm like, I see a dog in the back. And at first I'm kind of like, Tony's going to lose his shit. Like, all right, I'm just trying to have a moment here. She walks up to there's not even grass on this grave. And
that fresh.
Yeah. And so she's got her dog. I didn't know the situation at first, but it turned out that it was her father. She's older than me. Her father had passed away recently. And it's just this meme, that situation, right? Full encompassing situation. I got Tony. He's starting to freak out about this Weimaraner. That's beautiful dog. Mm-hmm. And she's trying to like pay her respects to her dad. And then we start conversing. And I learn about her. And this is, again, here we are. I learned about her that her dad is now buried there, and he would be upset because the grass is, just leave him alone.
Keep talking.
The grass isn't set. he was meticulous about his lawn, and that he would be, he's, yeah, so we're gonna have to do something about it. He'd be so upset about this, like it's just it's not settling right. And all. I was like, well, when'd you lose him? And she told me, and I said, well, so my dad passed away 4 years ago. You can see they really take care of the grass out here. So just give it a little bit of time. By next season, it'll be good. And then she changed it. Like as soon as I said that, she she's like, it was about the dogs. It was a sense of calm. And we had a moment where we were both silent. And then she brought it back up about the dogs. We learned about dog's named Scarlet, about 10, 11 years old, beautiful dog. And it's one of those things. It's just literally just open yourself up to talk to people and share those experiences. And that I didn't repost or anything. Like I was by myself in the first post, but that story and seeing that is like, we literally gave that, like, we consoled each other in the loss through dogs, conversation, lawns. I mean, it's just like, you just never know where it's going to go, but it was just, and then she initially walked up. She's like, it's okay. I'm not going to be long. I'm like, I'm going to have another pour. So you're fine. And this is like from here to not the corner of the garage, but maybe just beyond that, like
15, 20 feet away.
15, 20 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he settled down, the Scarlet settled down, and everything was kind of calm for the most part. And it's just really seeing, like, that was something, you bringing up your stepfather and tying this all together for me. It was like, there's just something there that if you just open yourself up, like we are all in it together, as cliche as that sounds, it's just
take a chance to be vulnerable.
Yeah. And don't be a dick. Bring it back to the podcast. Don't be a dick to people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be in a cemetery. You can be in a Starbucks or whatever, you know what I mean, in line. And don't just be like, hey, you back up. Like, how's your day? Say good morning. Bringing it back to the topic, right? Same thing. You don't have to have the extremes to get to that point that you actually say good morning to a absolute stranger. And that leads into everything else that Bobby Hirschman's meme says, in my opinion.
Yeah. Wasn't it like the first year or so at the cemetery, like you actually had some friends all meet you at the cemetery, and like you all had a pour? And
yeah. It was on his birthday, actually. So there's 3 times I go out there, typically at least a year, and it's December 5th, June 7th, and then Father's Day.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Do you prefer going out there alone or actually having close friends with you?
I go through my waves, you know what I mean? Like I had Ian out there quoting Roadhouse. No, June 7th, the day he passed, it was one of those, I had an offer. Well, Elena was in town actually, and she's like, do you want company? I was like, I'm good. I go out there, you know. And like, I'm fine. Never know how it's going to impact you, right?
Yeah.
You've been around me. I'm driving. It's 5 minutes away. By the time I get there, I'm like already smoking a cigar on the way out there. I had that Blands I posted, the Blands on straight from the barrel, and I'm already tearing up. Father's Day, not the same reaction. I'm by myself again. You know, no one asked me to go out there. I just did it on my own. And I was good. And then Scarlet the dog's out there, and now all of a sudden I'm all right. Why you got to bring up these emotions? You know what I mean? Like now, but I was able to focus the energy on this other person that had a more recent loss, and that does help. It does help. Got a lot of good comments out there, guys. I really appreciate it. Absolutely. I'm gonna bring up Freddie's here. I don't know what I didn't read the whole thing, but I want to throw it out there for conversation. Then we'll go into closing remarks. Freddie says, this is a very deep conversation, and it makes me think about the first time my wife's little sister told me, should I read this?
Well, I mean, he posted it out there for everyone to be able to see. So,
all right. Sorry, guys.
Proofreading.
I'm
proofreading.
I'm gonna take off the screen here. Everyone else,
proofread it before you post. Well, I was going to ask a question before doing the.
All right, so it's not the way I took it. I'm sorry. All right, I read the rest of it. Very deep conversation. It makes me think about the first time my wife's little sister told me she loved me. I've known her since she was 7, and she's about to graduate high school next year, and it made me feel so happy inside because I grew up not having family. It's crazy how important the little things in life matter. When I first started reading that comment, I didn't know where it was going to go. It went very well. Very important. Not trying to make light of this. I'm being honest with everyone as I normally do. Ryan Jones. Hey, Steve, I'm shooting from my heart when I say this. And even though we've never met in person, but in the 2 years I've known you, felt like you like a brother to me. So yeah, we may not talk much, but when you're there, you're there. Love you, bro. We
still have that sign back here.
I know. we gotta get it to him. But he's one that I met randomly on another podcast.
Yeah,
we were both listening to it, and then we both started chatting, and all of a sudden, yeah, we sent a box of cigars.
And then when he's lately over the course of the last year and a half, he's gone through a lot of issues. With him and his family.
Yeah,
and he's always put it out there and reached out to us. And he has seen that community come around.
Oh, 100%.
To help him be like, dude, whatever you need to get through it. Like, we're all there for you. Like, whatever you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a big part of it, right? I mean, this is something he says, just keep adding signatures. We should do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, come on. This way.
He has no idea where that went.
No, he does. He might tear down the table here.
No, I was going to ask because I jotted it down.
Go ahead.
When you're talking about, like live your life and, take a chance, do some of the things you want to do. It made me think of something a little personal, but I wanted to ask it as a question. Yeah. Do you ever find yourself not doing something you really want to do simply because it may become an inconvenience to others?
Yeah, I do. I battle with that. I think a lot of people do. I think this is something that, you put a lot of people put themselves last. So yeah, I think that's something that we always struggle with, and it's not always to the extremes. How about you?
Well, I do. That's one of the reasons why I jot it down. I've talked about it before. I have a hard time taking days off.
Yeah,
because of how busy I tend to be at work. I have a hard time pushing that responsibility onto my teammates because I know how hard they all work, and I feel like if I take a day off, while it would be good for me, it'd be a burden for other people. And so because of that, I'm like, I'm not gonna burden you. But then it just becomes more difficult for me. It becomes harder for me to do the things that I want to do and, take the time that I need for me and my family. And so Friday, my wife and I are going up to a wedding, and then, and then Sunday through Tuesday, you and I are going to be down in Louisville. Those are going to be my first days off this year. And I was actually looking at my my vacation calculator at work, and so I get 3 personal days, and then I have my vacation, and I actually carried over 30 hours of vacation from last year. So even after I take these 3 days off, that'll be my 3 personal days. I still have almost 4 weeks of vacation.
Yeah, you're probably not going to take those.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try and take most
Ray
of
says
it.
you'll regret not taking time for yourself. I will also.
I have regretted that.
Yeah, and so Bobby Hirschman says, always put yourself last. That's a no-brainer. That's easy for me. Ian says, Nate, the Army taught me that no matter how good or important you are, if you're not there, it still carries on. That's huge. The one thing missing from this meme, in my opinion, I'm of the opinion that and this is something I'm learning to do. I'm really bad at it. Is saying no. You got to say no sometimes.
Why? Like, is there something particular that's...
It's a mental health thing. If you keep saying yes to people, they ask you to do stuff and you're doing your own life. And anytime someone asks you to do something, and maybe Bobby Hirschman, meeting him now, he won't agree with it, but not everyone's wired like him. But, sometimes it's like I find myself that I get run down and I look back at the sequence of things, and all I needed to do was one of those things, is just to say, nah, I gotta stay in. I gotta take care of I gotta mow my lawn. I can't go do this. I can't help you out. I got at the moment, people don't get it, or they think you're being selfish, but that's okay too. Which is not in this meme.
Yeah, it's okay to be selfish.
Well,
we're taught our entire lives
not to be
selfish.
Right? It's a balance thing. You have to sometimes really put yourself first. We talk about it on the podcast.
We're taught not to be selfish, but we're not taught to be balanced.
I have overextended myself before, and it's not a healthy feeling. It's a panic feeling. It's an anxiety feeling, and it's just one of those things that sometimes you literally need to say no, because you have to make sure you're okay at some point. All right, where are we at? Love the conversation, everyone. Keep it going. Keep sharing it. Oh, man, there's so many good comments. I just want to keep. Jody says you have to make those decisions. Say no for your mental health. Yeah. Jody, when you want to be on the podcast, now that you're back involved on the comments, you are welcome in the garage. You're local. So I want to see a movement on the Bourbon and BS community page that Jody Jacks comes on the podcast. So I'll post a poll here.
Start a petition.
It's been 3 years. She's been a big supporter, and then now she's back in.
Well, I remember there was another guy at the shop that you had asked him to be on the podcast before, and he's got a family, and so it's hard for him to be here on a Wednesday night. And then he mentioned to one of the other guys in the shop, he's like, well, why don't you come do the podcast with me? And that person goes, I don't have anything to talk about. Everyone in the shop started immediately laughing. Yeah. Everyone in the shop started laughing.
I said, you don't seem to have a problem in the shop.
Exactly, because when this person's in the shop, this person does not stop talking, and they always
great guy. He has so many stories. I'll try to get him on.
And they always talk at the top of their lungs. Yeah. And so, like, I have nothing to talk about. Bullshit. You have a shit ton to talk about because you talk about it every single time you're here.
All right, so now there's a challenge out there, Jody. There, Ian says he's got the special bottles in 2 weeks, so we got to make sure you get over here on that Wednesday, at least in the audience. That's always the icebreaker for a lot of people is to be in the audience before you get on the podcast. And we've actually had people that mid podcast they want to get on the show.
Yeah.
So you guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. I've seen the views stay really, really strong. I hope you guys are sharing it. I didn't post anything about it, but I mean, there's one of the things that we talked about when we talked to Justin Andrews from Diesel and Jonathan Harry, and Jonathan shared a Joe Rogan podcast that they were talking about how a lot of social media, YouTube, Facebook, and everything else are basically like neutering the way that some of these things that are not mainstream anymore, like cigars and whiskey and all that stuff, they're being not put on something. And I've been told that by some people that, again, we have the community page, we have some, the Bourbon podcast, just Facebook page. People aren't getting notified.
Yeah.
And so it's not a conspiracy or any of that bullshit. It's just literally like there's something going on there that people aren't getting notified. So I hope you guys share it.
I think if some of those platforms actually saw, like, take this episode, for example, if the platforms that we share this and post this on actually saw the positivity that comes out of this episode, like, they would realize that this is something worth people seeing.
Yeah, and that's why
this is not something that needs to be silenced. This is something that people need to hear.
This is on you guys to share it too, and I hope you guys do that. If you're listening on the Facebook feed, the YouTube feed, the again, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and that stuff, please share it. If you're enjoying it, at least post it, because this is how we expand.
How many times do we?
Freddie Bird is on. Didn't get the notification tonight, and I know he's got notifications turned on. This is just how this works.
Yeah.
So again, I'll do better at making sure you guys all know about it and post it.
And how many times?
Once you're on it, like Freddie Burt, I know you love the show. If you feel comfortable, post it, not just on the Bourbon BS community page, but on your own, all that stuff. Because I got to be honest, like when my mom listens to it, it's one of those things that, she doesn't enjoy sometimes the foul language. But in the last few years, she's used foul language to me. So not at me, but in conversation. People grow.
Well, how many times have you actually mentioned this to people in the shop, like just random customers that come? Because I know for me, like if I'm helping a customer and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna have a whiskey tonight, so I want to have a cigar, and I'm like, oh, well, what kind of whiskey you drinking? Oh yeah, we featured that on our podcast, and we had this cigar. Or, hey, just recently we actually had this cigar on our podcast. We do a whiskey and cigar podcast, and we drop the name hoping that they listen or that they follow and download and all that stuff.
Yeah, William Murphy, thank you. He's just shared to a few of my fellow cigar lover pages.
Cool. No, I'm itching my arm.
Keep your hand up. Yeah,
itching my arm.
Tony's got to get fed. So at this point, I know, buddy. It's fine. I don't care how handsome you are. I do, because you're super handsome. Don't make noises. All right. One more treat. All right. So now is the time that we do the treat for Tony and closing remarks. This podcast is evolving. Oh my God.
It's not the closing remarks. It's the Tony treat time.
Tony treat time, brought to you by Pet Botanics. If you guys are out there listening, we send money. There you go.
Send bags of treats.
And just treats. Fine.
Yeah, just send treats.
All right.
and dog food.
So closing remarks. Go ahead, Nate. No, Ryan. All right. So real quick, Ryan Jones says, Steve's, and I love you, Ryan. Steve's mom says, quote, if you don't like Bourbon BS podcast, go fuck yourself. She never got to that point. That's me. When I say that, she still says, you don't need to talk like that. She says you should listen to the Bourbon BS podcast. There's some bad language. And if that bothers you, you should still listen.
Oh, good.
Church ladies mainly.
Yeah.
And they all curse. Like, don't let it fool you.
Oh, 100%.
All right. Close remarks. Say good morning.
Say good morning. So
go fuck yourself.
No, I've got Bobby's post pulled up here, and one of the things I take from it is live in the moment. Enjoy what you have. Be grateful for what you have, for what's around you. Don't take it for granted. So I think that's one of the things about like taking the pictures. Realize I'm not going to start going off and quoting American Beauty, but
I feel like you want to. You brought up the movie, so go ahead.
But no, it's that whole aspect.
Ryan says, "Love you, Mama Crane." Dorothy Crane's a saint, by the way.
It's that whole thing of there's a lot of negativity out there in the world, and sometimes we feel like that's all we ever see and that's all we ever get exposed to. Sometimes you actually have to make an effort to find the positive out there, to find the beauty that actually is out there in the world. And I think that's one of the things of, that take pictures of everything is getting to. Like, take pictures of what's around you and enjoy what's out there, and enjoy what you're surrounding yourself with, or what is around you. Um, just live in the moment and enjoy what you have. And, it may cause you to dwell a little bit on the things you've lost and the things you don't have, or have never had or lost. But then that can drive you to actually make an effort to make other areas of your life better, to actually uh, take the time to talk to loved ones that you haven't talked to in a while, talk to friends that you haven't seen or talked to in a while. You know, I have a friend from
Even more importantly now.
yeah, I have a friend from college. The last time I saw him was at his wedding. Last time I talked to him was about 6 months after his wedding. He's not on any social media, and I don't have his phone number. But by the time I graduated college, this person was my best friend. And I wish I had his information, because I wish I could talk to him. He was a groomsman in my wedding.
How do you not have his information? Facebook?
He's not on any social media.
Jesus. What's his name?
Ben Graber.
Ben Graber. If anyone out there knows Ben Graber, let's see how strong this network is. We'll throw it on the social media page. Like, I'm serious. Like this, we don't have a big reach, but it's big enough. Is he in Ohio?
Last I saw, he was in Arlington, Virginia. He was working at the Naval Research Laboratory.
All right, so say it one more time.
Ben Graber.
If anyone out there knows Ben Graber in Arlington, Virginia, or if you know anyone in Arlington, Virginia, let's get it out.
But he was interesting thing about Ben is when I first met him, when we were in classes together, like just based on the way he dressed, like I did not, or in the way he looked, this was not someone that I thought I would ever hang out with. This is not someone that I wanted to be a part of my circle of friends. And the following year, he and I actually started hanging out because we realized all of a sudden we had a couple common interests. One, we were both science majors. He was physics, I was biology. But then turns out we were both cigar guys. He's the one that actually got me into smoking premium cigars. He was that guy. And I told him right before we graduated that, when I first met him, here's what I thought about him. And this is, he wasn't someone I would ever consider a friend. But by the time we graduated, he was my best friend from college. And I told him then that if I got married, I was going to ask him to be a groomsman in my wedding. And so several years after I graduated, sure enough, he was a groomsman in my wedding, and then he invited me to his wedding.
Yeah.
But that whole relationship came about because I overcame those differences that he and I had. There's a lot of things that he and I don't see eye to eye on, but there's a lot of things that we have in common that actually made us close friends. Yeah. And so when I say the last time I talked to him was 6 months after he got married, it was because he was actually calling me, asking me for advice and tips in his marriage. There wasn't anything going wrong in their marriage. There was just, one little aspect that he and his wife, weren't the same on. And he had asked me, he's like, how do you get over that? Like, what do you do to compound that and, make the best of it?
Yeah.
And that was one of the last conversations he and I ever had. Jesus. So when I look at Bobby's post, like I forget some of those people that actually had an impact in my life.
Yeah.
And I wish I had done better to actually keep that relationship, but it also pushes me that now when I do make a friend of that caliber, I do want to make that effort to maintain that contact and that communication with that person.
You need to.
Yeah.
All right. We got some love out there, and also Ian, Sean Anderson, the over under on Steve going over 15 minutes today. Ian, throw out your wager, and then let everyone else chime in. I said under.
I'll get my stopwatch.
It's fine. That's a really you starting it?
Yeah.
That's a really impactful story, and it's tragic.
Yes.
Like we have control over it. Bobby Hirschman's he's still on. Like, Bobby, don't leave the podcast. Let me bring this up. I'm gonna summarize all this stuff because you were really, really big on this one, and what I'll say about this is love your fucking life. I do. And sometimes that I if I forget sometimes that I love my life, I know other people do. I've had other people, Nate, you brought it up since I started the podcast. I've had more people bring it up. The more I put myself out there, the more open I am to hear people that don't. Take pictures of everything. I think this is something I'm just going to rattle through this. I've already given my comments on say good morning. Just say good morning. Just say hi. I say, how are you? And you got bombarded with, again, this is like the day's shit and all that stuff. And you don't want to say it again. That's fine. But just say hi, good morning.
Do you think I should still try and say good morning to those people that cross the street every time they see me?
Wave.
Okay.
Go 50s neighborhood. You know what I mean? Where it's like 50s, 60s neighborhood. Like, hi, neighbor. Give them that. Give them that at least.
All right.
I'm telling you. Let them say no to you. Take pictures of everything. I encourage that. Tomorrow's challenge, if you guys are still listening, it's how many pictures?
5.
5 pictures.
5 pictures.
Tomorrow, I expect to see all you guys out there that are listening, and I encourage you to share it to your own pages. Tomorrow, Thursday, what's the date here?
Today's 23rd.
June 24th. Tomorrow's
24th. Yes.
5 pictures of things throughout your day, and don't be pressed on time because you don't want to just get out there early. And 5 pictures that you are enjoying your day, even if you have to force yourself, or throw it out there. Right? You go to American Beauty. Just hugely not depressing, but also just complex. Take a picture of a bug, whatever you need to do. Just take a picture. All right. Take 5 pictures tomorrow, post it, put it on your Facebook page. If you don't have anywhere else to put it on the Bourbon and BS community page. Tell people you love them. All right. Self-explanatory. If you haven't said to someone that's important to you that you love them, just because all you say is good morning, I'll see you when I get home from work. That's your challenge. Say you love them. Give them a kiss on the forehead or wherever else. Talk to random strangers. Don't tell random strangers that you love them. This is where it can go off the rails. All right. So
you might get the cops called
you're
on you.
Talking to random strangers. That's the good morning, good afternoon. This is something. Don't go up to a random stranger and be like, hey man, I love you.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
That's fine. Yeah, go Truman Show. That's it. It's good. Do things that you're scared to do. Again, you don't have to jump out of a plane tomorrow, but if any of these things scare you, if you feel a little anxiety about interactions with people, this is where we're at here right now. Is like people, right? If you're thinking about investing your life savings in something, and all you do is like, I'm scared to do it. Yeah, talk to someone that's a professional. Like, don't do that. Like, let's just talk to people. Let's do things that you're scared to do. book a vacation. That's fine. Have fun with that. Fuck it, because so many of us die and no one so heavy. And no one remembers the things that we did. We have the technology out there. We have the social media. Have fun. Just do it. Like Bobby Hirschman, I came to Columbus. That was scary. You didn't show your fear. But all I gotta say is that Bobby Hirschman came in town. He posted this meme, and I translated it to say good morning because of my experience on the trail. When Bobby Hirschman came in town, I was fortunate enough that Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, it wasn't crazy. I made a point to hang out with him. He went out of his way, and we put this effort out there, and we had people that actually wanted to come in town to hang out, and it was fantastic. And I appreciate you, Bobby, coming out here. All right. No one remembers a thing that we did. Put yourself out there, whether it's your daily life. You don't have to put yourself out there on social media. This can be a small circle. People, if you live your life with honor and you do all these things, it can literally be your immediate family, right? That they will live and they will live their life because and in honor of you.
Live your life that way people have stories to tell at your funeral.
Ray Cheshire says, is Steve Kramer emotional or just shit faced? A little bit of both. But what I will say is that, yeah, you had a good impact on that. Ray, same thing, man. You know this, is that all this stuff, take your life and make it the best story in the world. That's the biggest challenge. And I got to be honest, is that I get frustrated a lot in the path I'm on and when things fall off. I think you said it, Nate, is that, what was it? You don't do things because you think it might affect other people. How'd you say that?
It might, you don't, sometimes you don't do things that you love or want to do because it might inconvenience others.
Yeah. That's where the say no thing is. And if you overthink things,
or sometimes say yes to yourself.
Well, yeah. But sometimes when you're constantly just overthinking that's the point where it's like, to this meme, to Bobby is not now knowing him and meeting him in person, family man. You hang out with him, it's all good vibes, and it's over. It's over the top. It's like, how does this guy have the energy? How does he? Why is he here?
Do you think his post made a bigger impact because you met him and got to spend time with him?
100%. Which goes back to the meme, and it's the same thing. It's like, get out there and do your thing. It's one of those things that, I don't know. Steve said, yeah. Bobby says, that's what he said. No, Bobby came in town, and it was all about, like, even when Nick Perdomo was in town today from Perdomo Cigars, and Tim Kime was in. That Tim knows that. Where are we at on time? 8 minutes.
Quit looking.
Just make sure I had time to take a sip and
you're good.
Cigar again.
You're good. You got time.
I'll go back to the.
I'm like halfway done through the second cigar. You're just now lighting it up.
Yeah, well, originally it was my podcast. Just so I talk more.
I'm trying to take some of the burden off of you.
No. To those of you that are still out there listening, if I say good morning to you on the podcast as you're listening, if I say good morning out on the path, if I say good morning, even if it's 1:30 in the afternoon and you have to correct me, do that. I have this. I'm looking at the clock there. Oh, you silenced it. All right. I got this itch that I'm tired of people acting like they care about people, that when you have an interaction with them, they show they don't care about people.
The toilet paper.
Yeah, toilet paper. You know, Tony didn't attack either of those women this morning. But what I saw this afternoon, I took this walk, the old man walk this afternoon. We had a couple of old men, older than me, riding bikes. I said, this one guy, actually, I got to be honest. I said, how you doing? He said, good morning. He messed up. He wasn't being funny. He was probably like 70 years old, riding a bicycle. He's like, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. I was like, good evening. Have a good night. He's like blitzing by me, right? And I could hear him laugh on the way out of there. And that was the second guy. It was like one of those things. Like, all you got to do is just put yourself out there. So my closing remarks is, get over yourself. I just don't want to see people still hold grudges based on what they. I don't want to see people hold grudges based on what they think people are, based on first impressions, because that's how we got in this mess in the first place. Saying good morning should be simple. If I say good morning to you, say good morning to me.
I think that says something to the other people. Like, if someone says good morning to you, say good morning back.
That's it.
Don't, like what you talked about, don't be that person that just stonewalls and ignores that person as though they don't even exist.
The one person, that person, she stonewalled me several times on the podcast or on the walk, and I'm not going to say what the demographics are, but it's very frustrating because I've seen her countless times and she has not said one word to me. Always sunglasses, headphones in. I'm tired of it.
Imagine being on the other side. Like, if you're not the kind of person that wants to say good morning to other people, someone says good morning to you, don't just ignore that. Say good morning back.
Biggest thing was the second lady. You said I was passive aggressive, and you're not wrong.
Indirectly aggressive.
That's how I corrected you. I talked to my dog, and I said, "Fucking no one wants to say good morning anymore. Like this bullshit." All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tony's about to freak out. There's another bug in the garage. This is a fun podcast.
It was under, by the way.
Thank you. Ian, drink. You guys enjoy your week. We got Ann Dimmick coming on next week. It'd be a lot of fun. Cheers. You will not be able to get, hopefully, if she brings that, you will not be able to get what we're going to be drinking next week.
Until July 1st.
I encourage it. It's amazing.